Chapter 74. Bibi Dawn wore the Pope's robe and held the golden scepter in her hand. Her temperament was truly peerless. Although she was already in her 40s, time did not seem to have left the slightest trace on her body. Her figure was still as graceful as a young girl's. Her snow-white skin was crystal clear, exuding a soul-stirring charm. Not to mention other things, just her appearance alone was not worthy of the master's zombie face. Bibi Dawn was very satisfied with Lu Yuan as her disciple. He was talented and hardworking enough. Over the past year, except for a few days, he would practice here almost every morning. Although Bibi Dawn had never said it, she remembered it in her heart. Her impression of Lu Yuan was getting better and better. After all, who wouldn't like a disciple who was good-looking, talented, educated, and hardworking enough? Bibi Dawn also liked this disciple very much. In her heart, Lu Yuan's position was no different from Hulina's. In addition to being master and disciple, there was also the feeling of family between them. After all, Bibi Dawn was alone, and Lu Yuan was also an orphan except for his adoptive father, the Fellows. Hulina was even adopted by the Martial Soul Palace since she was young, and she only had Evil Moon as her elder brother. They were all alone, but it was easier for them to get along. In the open space not far away, Lu Yuan held the Emperor Dragon, Shocks the World, and displayed his spear skills smoothly. His spear skills had improved a lot compared to before. Every move and every style seemed to have a condensed momentum. This was the sign that Lu Yuan was about to step into the spear force. Once he stepped into the spear force, every thrust of his spear would carry the momentum of monstrous waves. At the realm of spear force, before the spear arrived, the opponent would be oppressed by the momentum and would be weakened by 30%. Teacher, Bibi Dawn watched Lu Yuan practice the spear. Hulina walked to Bibi Dawn's side. Oh, it's Nana. Bibi Dawn smiled gently and pointed at Lu Yuan, who was not far away, and said with a smile, I'm afraid this junior brother of yours has already caught up to you. It was not difficult for her to see that Lu Yuan's current strength had completely caught up with Hulina's. In fact, Hulina might not even be his opponent. Yes, I know. My charm has no effect on him at all. Hulina pouted her little mouth. Her strongest point was her charm, but it didn't have much effect on Lu Yuan. Not only was Lu Yuan's spiritual power innately strong, but he also had the clear chi scripture to stabilize his mind. Hulina's charm did not have much effect on him. Bibi Dawn smiled and rubbed Hulina's head. It's not that your charm is not strong. It's just that Obu Chi is a little special. His spiritual power is much stronger than soul masters of the same rank, so your charm did not have much effect on him. However, there's only one such prodigy like Obu Chi in the entire continent. You don't have to worry too much. Yes. Hulina nodded. An hour later, Bibi Dawn, Hulina, and Lu Yuan sat together and ate breakfast. Obu Chi, follow me to the Elders' Hall later. Bibi Dawn put down his bowl and chopsticks, took out a silk handkerchief to wipe his mouth, and said to Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan nodded. He knew that Bibi Dawn should be bringing him to find his new teacher, Golden Crocodile. Hulina glanced at the two of them while eating her porridge. She was very curious about Lu Yuan's so-called new teacher. Going to the Elders' Hall meant that Lu Yuan's new teacher should be an elder of the Elders' Hall. But which elder would it be? After breakfast, Bibi Dawn brought Lu Yuan to the Elders' Hall. Although the Elders' Hall and the Pontiff's Hall were both in the martial spirit city, there was still a certain distance between them. Moreover, Bibi Dawn and Sindoryu had an inexplicable grudge, so Bibi Dawn rarely came to the Elders' Hall. However, Bibi Dawn did not let go of this powerful force. On the surface, he was calm and collected, but in fact, he had secretly begun to rope in the Elders' Hall. Now, there were 9 elders in the Elders' Hall, and 2 of them were Bibi Dawn's people. Bibi Dawn's ability was evident. Bibi Dawn held a scepter in his hand and walked in front, showing his power. Lu Yuan followed behind Bibi Dawn. The Elders' Hall was also built in a very imposing manner. The tall palace exuded a mysterious majesty. Bibi Dawn walked in without announcing his arrival. Lu Yuan followed behind Bibi Dawn. In the Elders' Hall, Sindoryu, Golden Crocodile, and the other elders were all present. Other than the snake spear Douluo and thorny pufferfish Douluo who were protecting Chihiro's snow, there were also 7 titled Douluo. This was the foundation of the martial spirit palace. Sendoriu's expression did not change at all when he saw BB Don swagger in. He stared straight at Lu Yuan, who was behind BB Don. "You are Lu Yuan?" Lu Yuan lifted his head and saw an elder in white. His silver hair was combed neatly, and his hands were behind his back. He did not look old, and one could tell that he was handsome when he was young. The aura he exuded was as deep as the abyss. Lu Yuan had only vaguely sensed this kind of pressure for BB Don. Lu Yuan greets the head consecrator and the elders. Lu Yuan bowed. BB Don could ignore etiquette because of her status. However, he was only a sole grandmaster. Even though he was the Pope's disciple, he still had to bow when he saw the elders. "Yes, you're not bad." In front of so many titled Douluo and elders, Lu Yuan was neither servile nor overbearing. He was elegant and composed. Not to mention anything else, just his intelligence alone was not something that an ordinary person could possess. Furthermore, Lu Yuan was only 8 years old. The elders nodded silently. Lu Yuan's demeanor was not ordinary. He was indeed the Pope's disciple. "Head consecrator, I believe you know why I'm here. Therefore, I shall not beat around the bush. Let's get down to business." Bibidon's cold voice sounded. Sendoriu nodded and said, "Then let's begin. Golden Crocodile, I'll leave it to you." Golden Crocodile, who was sitting below Sendoriu, nodded. He stood up and carefully sized up Lu Yuan. He nodded and said, "Take a few steps forward." Lu Yuan obeyed and took a few steps forward. Suddenly, a huge pressure pressed down on Lu Yuan's body. Aura pressure. This was the aura pressure that a high-ranked soul grandmaster exerted on a low-ranked soul grandmaster. When the difference in soul power between the two parties was too great, the high-ranked soul grandmaster could use his aura to pressure the low-ranked soul grandmaster. Given the gap between Lu Yuan and the golden alligator Douluo, it was naturally impossible to calculate. The huge aura pressed down on Lu Yuan's body. This aura was at the level of a soul grandmaster from the very beginning. Generally speaking, a soul grandmaster could be considered not bad if he could resist 2/3 of his soul power rank's pressure. If he could resist an aura that was equal to his soul power rank's pressure, he could be considered a genius. Lu Yuan was now a rank 24 soul grandmaster. Golden Crocodile's aura was equivalent to a rank 21 soul grandmaster's aura. This aura was already 2/3 of Lu Yuan's rank. Chapter 75. Seeing the strength of the aura released by the Golden Crocodile, Sendoriu's gaze subconsciously drifted towards BB Don. However, Bibidon's expression remained indifferent. There was even a hint of mockery in his eyes. She had absolute confidence in Lu Yuan. How could such a small amount of pressure suppress Lu Yuan? He was her disciple. She was very clear about how heaven-defying this kid was. As expected, Lu Yuan didn't react at all in the face of a rank 21 soul power pressure. It was as if there was no pressure at all. The Golden Crocodile raised his eyebrows, then increased the intensity of the pressure again. As his aura rose, the pressure jumped from rank 20 to rank 24. Rank 24 was already the same as Lu Yuan's soul power. Generally speaking, being able to resist the same amount of soul power pressure was enough to be called a genius. Even in the martial soul palace, perhaps only the golden generation could do this. However, when it came to Lu Yuan, he still didn't react to the rank 24 soul power pressure. Lu Yuan's aura was still so stable. His body didn't tremble at all, let alone reaching his limit. He didn't even release his martial soul. Interesting. The Golden Crocodile was interested. He wanted to know where this kid's limit was. His aura rose again. In an instant, he had reached rank 28. Lu Yuan frowned slightly. At rank 28, he could already feel the all-pervasive pressure. It was like a layer of shackles binding his body. However, although it was a little uncomfortable, Lu Yuan could still support it. The clear chi scripture in his body quickly circulated. This was a peerless cultivation technique with an extraordinary origin. It displayed its strength. Although the clear chi scripture might not be the kind of cultivation technique with explosive attack power. It had the advantage of being continuous, dense, and endless. This was almost unique to Taoist cultivation techniques. The after effect of the clear chi scripture was also one of the best among Taoist techniques. Its toughness and recovery ability were very shocking. Therefore, a lot of the pressure Lu Yuan was enduring was completely resolved by the clear chi scripture. Moreover, Lu Yuan's physique was very strong. In addition to the strong physical body of the golden dragon, he also had the atlas palm bone and the golden dragon armor. The quality of his body was close to that of his soul ancestor. Seeing that Lu Yuan was still as relaxed as before, the golden crocodile directly increased the pressure to that of a soul elder. This increased the pressure greatly. Lu Yuan felt as if there was a river around him that was pressing down on him tightly. This pressure was like being in deep water, and that kind of pressure was really pervasive. Not only was it oppressing Lu Yuan's physical body, it was also targeting Lu Yuan's spirit. This was because when the body was under great pressure, whether or not one could persevere depended on one's willpower. Although Lu Yuan felt uncomfortable facing the pressure of a rank 30 soul elder, he still stood as straight as a pine tree. Apart from a slight frown, not a single drop of sweat appeared on his body. This was because Lu Yuan didn't just have a strong physical body. His spiritual power also far surpassed his peers. This time, the consecrated in the Elders' Hall were all astonished. Rank 30 soul power was already 6 ranks higher than Lu Yuan's own strength, but Lu Yuan was still as relaxed as before. He didn't even release his martial soul. This was a true genius. The future is promising, a consecrated softly said. Hearing this, the few consecrators around him nodded subconsciously. Hearing the consecrated whispers, the corner of Bibidin's mouth hooked up into an imperceptible smile. This disciple of hers was still far from reaching his limit. He still had the powerful external soul bone, the golden dragon armor, on his body. Looking at the consecrated around her, she knew that this disciple of hers would win her face today. Seeing that Lu Yuan still hadn't released his martial soul despite being at rank 30, the golden crocodile slightly praised Lu Yuan in his heart. Then, he increased the pressure again. No matter how far this kid could persevere today, he was definitely going to teach this disciple of his. When his soul power reached rank 34, Lu Yuan's body trembled. That enormous pressure almost made him unable to breathe. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on his body, almost suffocating him. At this time, the golden dragon, which had already been unable to hold back, instantly attached itself to his body. A loud and clear dragon's roar resounded throughout the Elders' Hall. Golden diamond-shaped dragon scales climbed up both sides of Lu Yuan's cheeks. Golden scales also climbed up both his arms. 2 soul rings, one yellow and one purple, emitted a dazzling light, and the absolute aura of the golden dragon gushed out. The golden dragon was proud. If anyone dared to pressure in front of it, it would immediately activate the innate power of its martial soul. Coincidentally, the golden crocodile's pressure made the golden dragon feel that its dignity was being violated, so it unscrupulously released its own pressure. What a powerful martial soul. It's worthy of being a legendary martial soul. Sendoryu's eyes flickered. The power of this martial soul had already surpassed Chihiro, Snow's seraphim. It could be said to be the strongest martial soul he had seen in all these years. Whether it was Pasizi's sea god or Tang Chen's clear sky hammer, they seemed to be inferior. Other than not having innate, full soul power, it was almost no different from a god-ranked martial soul. Other than the golden dragon's power that shocked everyone, Lu Yuan's soul ring combination was even more shocking. His second soul ring is a 1,000-year soul ring. One of the worshippers unconsciously raised his voice. The worshippers looked at each other and were a little shocked. Everyone knew that the best soul ring combination should be yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 because a 100,000-year soul ring was difficult to find. Even if one was extremely lucky, the 9th soul ring would only be a 100,000-year soul ring. However, They had never heard of anyone's second soul ring being a 1,000-year soul ring. This was practically breaking the record. Even the proud daughter of heaven, Chihiro Snow, didn't seem to be able to do it. Sendoryu's eyes flickered. He naturally knew more than the others. His 9 soul rings were 8 black and 1 red, but that was the reward for the god test. Without the test reward, even he couldn't get a 1,000-year soul ring. Interesting. Sendoryu became interested in Lu Yuan, this 8-year-old kid. I heard that this kid's relationship with Xiao Shui is not bad. Maybe I can take him in. Sendoryu's thoughts turned. His relationship with Bibi Don couldn't be said to be good. If he could poach Bibidon's disciple to assist Xiao Shui, it seemed to be a good choice. The golden crocodile's eyes revealed a look of admiration. Lu Yuan had really given him the biggest surprise. This talent really moved his heart. A top-grade martial soul that surpassed the best soul ring combination. If he could teach such a genius, it could be considered a fortunate thing. Furthermore, this kid also had a gold-type martial soul like himself. Thus, accepting his legacy would be the most suitable. The golden crocodile thought inwardly. Chapter 77. To every capable person, especially an old titled Douluo, it was undoubtedly the greatest fortune for them to have someone to inherit their legacy. After all, no one would want their abilities to be lost. To the golden crocodile in front of him, other than the martial soul palace, he only cared about his own legacy. He was very happy that he had finally met someone who could inherit his legacy today. To the golden crocodile, there was no one more suitable than Lu Yuan to inherit his legacy. The golden dragon martial soul was a top-tier martial soul among gold-type martial souls. It was the most suitable for him to inherit his legacy. Furthermore, this kid in front of him was such a genius. He was only 8 years old, but he was already at rank 24. Furthermore, he had soul rings that exceeded the best combination. Even the golden crocodile had never seen such a prodigy in all these years. If someone had to be compared, only Xiao Shui could compare to him. If this kid grew up, he might really be able to become a huge helper for Xiao Shui. It had to be said that the golden crocodile and Sendoryu had the same thoughts on this matter. Hence, the golden crocodile wanted to know where Lu Yuan's limit was even more. The pressure continued to rise, and he was already at rank 38. Rank 38 was a difference of 14 ranks compared to Lu Yuan's rank 24 soul power. Even Lu Yuan was almost at his limit. Lu Yuan's forehead was covered with beads of sweat. His arms were clenched tightly, and his veins were exposed. It was obvious that he was an arrow at the end of its flight. Has he reached his limit? Sendoryu nodded inwardly. To be able to resist rank 38 soul power, he was already very talented. The golden crocodile also sighed inwardly. It seemed like this kid's limit. Rank 38 was not bad. The consecrated also nodded inwardly. Not only was this kid's martial soul powerful and had a high combination of soul rings, but his willpower was also extraordinary, as expected of the Pope's disciple. In their hearts, they also expressed their approval of Sendoryu's arrangement of the golden crocodile to teach Lu Yuan. Unlike the others, Bibidon's eyes were still calm. This was because she knew that Lu Yuan still had a trump card that he hadn't revealed yet. Swish! Golden light intersected and shone in the Elder's Hall. It was different from the golden dragon's brilliant gold. Although this dazzling gold was still very eye-catching, it was a dark gold color. Upon closer inspection, a dark gold armor covered Lu Yuan's body. The moment the armor appeared, Lu Yuan's aura skyrocketed. His body, which was already at its limit, stood up straight again. His eyes had turned completely golden, filled with arrogance and nobility. This is... A strange look flashed across Qian Dao Lu's eyes. Even he was a little shocked. This is an external soul bone. The golden crocodile was also very knowledgeable. He immediately recognized that the armor on Lu Yuan's body was an external soul bone. Furthermore, it was an extremely rare, full-body armor-type soul bone. In the consecrated hall, the consecrated all sucked in a breath of cold air. Then, they were greatly surprised. A top-grade martial soul, a superb combination of soul rings, an external soul bone, and a strong willpower. How could they not be surprised when such a genius was a member of the martial soul palace? Of course, there was no lack of envy. After all, soul bones were extremely rare treasures. Furthermore, it was an external soul bone that was 1 in 10,000. Only people with great luck could obtain it. However, if they knew that apart from the golden dragon armor, Lu Yuan also had a set of palm bones, they might be so shocked that they would be speechless for a long time. Sendoryu's eyes flashed. Even he was attracted to such a genius. If he nurtured him properly, he might be able to peek into the highest realm. Even if he was slightly lacking, he might be able to reach his current level. At this moment, Sendoryu really wanted to nurture Lu Yuan. Originally, Sendoryu wanted to nurture Lu Yuan more because of Chihiro Snow's pleas. Now, however, Lu Yuan's talent was enough for Sendoryu to focus on nurturing him. As for Lu Yuan being Bibidan's disciple, he was not worried about this. This was because he was confident that his granddaughter could subdue Lu Yuan. Because his granddaughter was chosen by God. No matter how talented Lu Yuan was, as long as he was not blessed by God, he would always be below Chihiro Snow. However, he did not know that there were some people in this world who could not be described with common sense. For example, some people who had their own systems. After the golden dragon armor was on, Lu Yuan felt a lot more relaxed. In the blink of an eye, the pressure had reached the level of a soul ancestor. After reaching the level of a soul ancestor, even Bibidan was a little worried for Lu Yuan. This was because the pressure was too high. No matter how strong Lu Yuan's body was, or how powerful his soul bones were, he was only rank 24. Gene Alligator was shocked as he looked at Lu Yuan, who was trembling a little. This was because the pressure had reached rank 44. It was a whole 20 ranks higher. Limit. This time, Lu Yuan had really reached his limit. Even with the golden dragon armor, Lu Yuan had really reached his limit under the pressure of rank 44 soul power. The immense pressure was like Mount Tai pressing down on his heart. It was very difficult for him to even move. Piercing pain came from all over his body. Sometimes, the pressure was not only directed at the outside of his body, but also his internal organs. His internal organs were much more fragile than his muscles. Suffocation. He really felt like he was about to suffocate. Persevere, persevere. Even though his face was already red and his body was shaking a little, Lu Yuan still persevered. Bibidan's gaze became gratified and serious. He was gratified because his disciple was really a peerless genius with amazing perseverance. However, he was serious because Lu Yuan was obviously at his absolute limit. If he was not careful, he could be injured. Sendoryu was also staring at Lu Yuan. Resistance that exceeded rank 20. Such talent was really scary. The other consecrated also had a look of approval in their eyes. They were all high and mighty titled Douluo, but they had to admit that this child's talent was far beyond theirs. It was not impossible for him to become a great consecrated in the future. Geniuses were worthy of respect, no matter where they went. Lu Yuan's face slowly turned purple. This was a sign that he was about to collapse. The golden crocodile was shocked. He was ready to withdraw his soul power at any time. Bibidan's jade-like hand gripped her scepter tightly. Her beautiful eyes flickered with a fierce look. If anything happened to Lu Yuan, she would definitely not let it go. Sendoryu was also prepared. He was ready to save Lu Yuan from collapsing at any time. After all, even a martial soul palace could not afford to lose such a genius. I'm so tired. I can't take it anymore. Lu Yuan's consciousness was a little blurry. Under the immense pressure, even with his spiritual power, he could not hold on under the extreme pressure of his physical body. No, I can't give up. Lu Yuan's spiritual power was screaming crazily. At this moment, a huge force burst out from the depths of Lu Yuan's blood. A terrifying force was starting to awaken. Chapter 79. This was a power that had awakened from the depths of his body. It was a power that was completely different from soul power. The moment this power awakened, a huge amount of energy began to rapidly restore Lu Yuan's physical and spiritual strength. Like rain after a long drought, Lu Yuan's body hungrily absorbed this energy. His body's strength began to rapidly increase. His body, which had already reached its limit, was once again restored. His pair of black eyes regained their golden color. On the other side, the golden crocodile, who had originally wanted to withdraw his soul power, was stunned when he saw Lu Yuan's restored spirit. The pressure of his soul power disappeared without a trace. Sendoryu, Bibi Dan, and the various consecrated, who had been watching Lu Yuan, were also shocked. They saw that Lu Yuan was in high spirits. He didn't look like he was on the verge of collapse at all. Did he break through his limit? Sendoryu's voice carried a hint of surprise. Lu Yuan's current spirit was even better than before he had undergone the oppressive test. If this wasn't breaking through his limit, then what was? Bibidan's eyes were also filled with praise. It was obvious that she also thought that Lu Yuan had broken through his limit. She couldn't help but feel happy for Lu Yuan. Good. Golden Crocodile's voice carried a hint of surprise. He had actually broken through his own limit. With such talent and such tenacious willpower, he was definitely going to teach this disciple. The consecrated present also had praise in their eyes. No matter which side they were on, Lu Yuan was still a member of the Martial Soul Palace. That was enough. At the very least, Lu Yuan now represented the Martial Soul Palace. Furthermore, Lu Yuan was not only a disciple of the Pontiff's Palace, but was also about to be taught by the Golden Crocodile. It could be said that whether it was Bibidan's faction or Sendoryu's faction, they didn't have any ill feelings towards Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan felt an additional powerful force in his body, and he couldn't help but feel puzzled. Just what is this? He could feel that his strength and physical strength had improved once again. Although his soul power hadn't changed, his strength had increased by a few notches. This strength seemed to originate from the depths of his bloodline. It was an innate strength, and today, under the all-pervasive pressure of the Golden Crocodile, he had broken through his shackles and completed his breakthrough. When this power burst forth, Lu Yuan felt that not only did his strength increase greatly, but his body's quality had also improved. Even the strength of his martial soul seemed to have increased by a few degrees. This was truly somewhat inconceivable. Very good. Sendoryu's wise eyes looked at Lu Yuan with satisfaction and said, "From today onwards, you will learn from Golden Crocodile." "Golden Crocodile, I'll leave this child to you," Sendoryu said. "Okay, big brother." Golden Crocodile readily agreed. He didn't have a trace of resistance towards accepting Lu Yuan as his disciple. "Kid, acknowledge me as your master." Golden Crocodile's voice rang out. In the face of Golden Crocodile's request to acknowledge him as his master, Lu Yuan ultimately chose to reject it. To him, his only teacher was Bibi Dan. Even the Golden Crocodile wasn't enough for him to acknowledge him as his master. Unexpectedly, although the Golden Crocodile was a little disappointed, he still accepted the task of teaching Lu Yuan, but he didn't acknowledge him as his master. From the beginning to the end, he wasn't angry. Not only was Lu Yuan surprised, but even Bibi Dan was a little puzzled. However, what Lu Yuan didn't know was that the Golden Crocodile was a very affectionate person. Although Lu Yuan's talent had surprised him, his refusal to acknowledge him as his master was even more tempting. This was because it was really difficult to find a loyal successor. In the Golden Crocodile's opinion, his successor's talent and character were indispensable. However, this was also because the Golden Crocodile was an affectionate person. If it were Sendoryu, then Sendoryu had never been an affectionate person. Lu Yuan didn't like Sendoryu, but he was Chihiro Snow's grandfather, so Lu Yuan was willing to give him some respect. Otherwise, even if he was an ultimate Douluo, Lu Yuan might not think highly of him. He was just an ultimate Douluo. Lu Yuan was confident that he would be able to beat Sendoryu in less than 20 years. Of course, after 20 years, Lu Yuan might become a god. Therefore, although he didn't acknowledge the Golden Crocodile as his master, Lu Yuan still respected him very much. He also changed the way he addressed him from Senior Golden Crocodile to Grandpa Golden Crocodile. Since he couldn't be his disciple, it seemed like being his godson wasn't bad either. Ahem, I digress. The happiest person was BB Dawn when Lu Yuan refused to acknowledge him as his master. This meant that she was one of a kind in Lu Yuan's heart, and only she was Lu Yuan's only teacher. At this moment, BB Dawn had completely accepted Lu Yuan. In BB Dawn's heart, a disciple who respected his teacher and spoke of emotions had already quietly surpassed Hu Lai's position. After all, he had rejected a rank 98 pinnacle Douluo in front of all the elders. Furthermore, he was the second consecrator of the martial soul palace. If it had been anyone else, they would have agreed long ago, let alone rejected him like Lu Yuan did. This was because not only did he offend Golden Crocodile, but he also embarrassed Sendoryu. How much courage did it take to reject him? It was also because of this that BB Dawn was very touched. Lu Yuan was indeed her good disciple. If Lu Yuan knew that his actions today would leave a deeper impression on Bibidan's heart, perhaps he would be even happier. This was because there weren't many people in this world that he cared about so far. The fellows, Chihiro Snow, BB Dawn, and Hulina were only 4 people. This was why he cherished his relationship with everyone. In his heart, BB Dawn was no longer just a simple teacher, but a family member. This was why he didn't want BB Dawn to be sad. Even if he had to reject the Golden Crocodile's request to accept him as his disciple, he was still willing to do it. Of course, Bibidan's looks were also important. After all, Lu Yuan was a person who had 3 organs and 5 facial features. Who wouldn't like a beautiful teacher? Wasn't she much better than an old man? He returned to Lake Hard Island with BB Dawn. As for the Golden Crocodile's guidance, it would only start tomorrow. From tomorrow onwards, he would go to the Elder Hall 3 days a week and be guided by the Golden Crocodile. The rest of the time, he would still be on Lake Hard Island. Not only were there beautiful senior sisters here, but there was also a beautiful teacher. Wasn't it good to live here? Once he returned to Lake Hard Island, Lu Yuan went straight to his room and secretly connected to the system. At the same time, he prepared to check the power that was surging out of his body. System, open my information panel. Ding, the host information panel is below. Host, Lu Yuan age, 8 rank. Rank 24 soul Grandmaster Martial Soul, Golden Dragon, God-slaying Spear Soul Ring, Golden Dragon, Yellow, Purple, Bloodline, 2nd generation Golden Dragon Cultivation Method, Clear Chi Scripture, Mountain Sea Fist, Phoenix Dance 6 Illusions, Vast Ocean Spear Art Soul Bone, Golden Dragon Battle Armor, Sky Raising Palm Bone Weapon, Emperor Dragon Shocks the World Item. Star Ring. Looking at the brand new information panel and the new Bloodline option, Lu Yuan was puzzled. 2nd generation Golden Dragon Bloodline. What exactly is this thing? Chapter 80. 2nd generation Golden Dragon Bloodline. What is that? Lu Yuan's heart was full of doubts. He remembered that he had never come into contact with this thing before. From the moment he opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was the ugly face of the fellows. Before he was 6 years old, he had never left Nodding City. The origin of the Golden Dragon Martial Soul had already made him a little puzzled. Now that there was a 2nd generation Golden Dragon Bloodline, he was even more surprised. When did it come? The system had never rewarded him with the Golden Dragon Bloodline, and the 2nd generation Golden Dragon Bloodline seemed to be quite powerful. The 1st generation Golden Dragon was the Golden Dragon King. The 2nd generation Golden Dragon had inherited the purest Golden Dragon King bloodline. It should be on the same level as the 9 great Dragon Kings. Even if it was not as good, it should be close. The strength of this bloodline was limitless. As long as he could keep digging, his future would be limitless. Lu Yuan was a little puzzled, but also surprised. At the same time, he also understood something. The golden armored dragon, Turtle, took the initiative to be absorbed by him. Perhaps it was not entirely because of the Golden Dragon Martial Soul. Perhaps it was because of his noble and pure 2nd generation Golden Dragon bloodline. Even if the bloodline had not awakened at that time, the Golden Armored Dragon Turtle, who also had a thin Golden Dragon bloodline, might have already felt it. That was why it was so cooperative and even gave an external soul bone, the Golden Dragon Armor. Lu Yuan thought about it a lot, but he had to admit that it did make some sense. Lu Yuan was naturally puzzled about the origin of the bloodline, but he did not ask much. This was because his system was not as intelligent as other people's systems. Instead, it was a little cold. Sometimes it would answer some questions, but most of the time, it would choose not to answer. When Lu Yuan raised his question, the system did not give any answer, which made Lu Yuan feel a little helpless. With such a system, the readers should know why the system's appearance rate was so low. However, since the system did not say anything, Lu Yuan was not disappointed. Anyway, he had obtained a bloodline, so he would use it first. Sooner or later, he would know the answer. Lu Yuan was quite open-minded. After thinking for a while, Lu Yuan put his doubts aside. What he was concerned about now was how to use and develop his pure bloodline. This was the most important thing. The appearance of this bloodline further strengthened Lu Yuan's physique. Regardless of whether it was strength or defense, they had all increased substantially. Furthermore, this was a power that was different from soul power. Perhaps it could be called vitality force. Right now, Lu Yuan was truly brimming with blood and energy. His vital energy was like a beacon, and the strength of his vital energy wasn't any weaker than his soul force. In fact, it was even better in terms of endurance. This meant that even if Lu Yuan's soul force was exhausted, he could still fight with his vital energy. If the two were combined, the power might be even stronger. However, this was only the beginning of the emergence of his vital energy, so Lu Yuan still had to study it in detail before he could make better use of it. In this regard, Lu Yuan didn't have any experience to rely on, so he could only fumble around on his own. After all, not everyone could possess vital energy. Looking at the entire Douluo continent, Lu Yuan knew that only Tang Wulin in Battle 3 was able to make good use of his vital energy. Even Wang Qiu'er in Battle 2 possessed a golden dragon martial soul, but her golden dragon bloodline was very thin, so she didn't use much of her vital energy. Lu Yuan's bloodline was naturally inferior to the Golden Dragon King's bloodline. It didn't possess any divinity or divine power. It was only abnormally pure, so it could be said that its potential was limitless. However, to what extent it could be used would depend on Lu Yuan's own efforts. His situation was different from Tang Wulin's. He only had his bloodline, while Tang Wulin had the Golden Dragon King's divine core sealed within his body. Aside from the Golden Dragon King's bloodline, the divine core also contained the Golden Dragon King's divine power, so it could be said that the Golden Dragon King's entire body had been given to Tang Wulin. In contrast, Lu Yuan only had his bloodline. In reality, this wasn't necessarily a bad thing. This bloodline completely belonged to Lu Yuan, so he wouldn't be constantly threatened by the Golden Dragon King seal, like Tang Wulin. On the other hand, he would be completely under Lu Yuan's control, so it wouldn't affect Lu Yuan's path. Tang Wulin's growth would more or less be affected by the Golden Dragon King's bloodline. In contrast, Lu Yuan could forge his own path through his bloodline, and perhaps he would be able to break through the bloodline shackles in the future if he was given the right opportunity. As for Tang Wulin, he would only be able to reach the Golden Dragon King's level at most. Lu Yuan nodded as he sensed the abundant Golden Dragon bloodline within his body. If he could use this power as he pleased, then he really would be able to establish a foothold on the continent. He wouldn't have to rely on the power of the Martial Soul Palace. He could rely on himself. As long as he could master this power, then he would definitely be able to establish a foothold on the continent. Just as Lu Yuan was thinking to himself, the door was suddenly pushed open and a figure rushed in. Lu Yuan's expression hardened as he raised his head. "Senior disciple's sister, why are you here?" Time flew by like water, and another year flew by in the blink of an eye. During this year, Lu Yuan's strength had increased by quite a bit. Perhaps it was due to the awakening of his bloodline, but Lu Yuan's cultivation had become much smoother. He had actually risen by 4 ranks in a row, and now his soul power was at rank 28. One had to realize that without any external interference, a soul grandmaster could still rise by 4 ranks in a year. This speed could be said to be extremely fast. Lu Yuan's cultivation in the Martial Soul Palace was naturally quite good, but he almost never consumed any soul power increasing herbs. This was because using herbs to increase one's soul power would cause one's soul power to become unstable, which would affect one's future path. Unless it was an immortal herb. If it was an immortal herb, then not only would it greatly increase one's soul power, but it would also strengthen one's foundation and strengthen one's aptitude. That was what Lu Yuan wanted. Speaking of immortal herbs, Lu Yuan thought of something. He didn't know anything about immortal herbs, and even the Martial Soul Palace's records weren't complete. Over the years, he had flipped through all the books in the Martial Soul Palace's hidden scripture pavilion, and there were only a few records of immortal herbs, but they weren't complete. Therefore, Lu Yuan turned his attention to the Douluo. To be honest, if it wasn't necessary, he really didn't want to see the Douluo. The Douluo was good at everything, but his androgynous appearance was a little unbearable. Furthermore, he would occasionally cause trouble, and Lu Yuan couldn't accept it. Standing outside the Douluo's room, Lu Yuan took a deep breath and knocked on the door. "Elder Ju, are you there? I'm Lu Yuan." Creak. The door opened without any wind, and the Douluo's figure appeared at the door like a phantom. He was so fast that even Lu Yuan didn't notice him. What speed! As expected of a titled Douluo. A look of surprise flashed across the Douluo's eyes when he saw Lu Yuan outside the door. He raised his fingers and said, It's Yuan. You're a rare guest. Why are you here?" Chapter 81. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said, "Elder Ju, this junior has come to ask for Elder Ju's help." "Oh, do you still need my help with something?" The chrysanthemum Douluo's interest was piqued. The current Lu Yuan was no longer the Lu Yuan of a year ago. After receiving the golden alligator Douluo's guidance, Lu Yuan could be said to be very popular in both the Pontiff's Palace and the Elder's Palace. Almost every titled Douluo knew of Lu Yuan's existence. At the same time, he was highly regarded by Sendoryu and BB Dawn. Furthermore, he had the golden crocodile's endorsement. Almost no one in the Pontiff's Palace dared to provoke him. Even a titled Douluo like the Douluo had to treat him with respect. Of course, Lu Yuan and the Douluo were on very good terms. Lu Yuan smiled and said, "I've been studying some rare herbs recently, and I heard from my teacher that Elder Ju has an ancestral collection of immortal herbs, so I came to borrow it. I hope Elder Ju can help me with this." "So you want to borrow my immortal herbs?" The Douluo said, "It's not impossible, but you have to do something for me." "Something? What do you mean?" Lu Yuan couldn't help but shudder when he saw the Douluo's eyes. "Does he want me to?" "That's impossible." A look of determination flashed through Lu Yuan's eyes. He had to protect himself. The Douluo naturally didn't know what Lu Yuan was thinking. Otherwise, he wouldn't know how he would feel. "What do you think of our relationship?" the Douluo asked. Lu Yuan was slightly taken aback. "We're very close." Indeed, he had been on very good terms with the Douluo ever since he had joined the Martial Soul Palace. "Since we're so close, why do you keep calling me Elder Ju?" the Douluo asked with an angry expression. "What?" Lu Yuan was confused. "Then how should I address you?" "Call me Uncle Ju." Douluo smiled. "All right, Uncle." Lu Yuan finally called out under the chrysanthemum Douluo's gaze. "AI, very good." A warm smile appeared on the Douluo's face as he said, "Wait for me." After saying that, he turned into a blur and ran back into the house. The Douluo abruptly appeared in front of Lu Yuan, and only the blink of an eye had passed since he had entered to retrieve the book. Lu Yuan reflexively accepted the book that the Douluo was handing to him. When he opened it, he saw that it was filled with illustrations of various immortal herbs. "Thank you, Uncle Ju," Lu Yuan said. "Yes." The Douluo nodded in a pleased manner and said, "I'll lend you this immortal herb collection, little Yuan, but you have to return it to me after you're done reading it. This is a treasure that has been passed down in my family for generations, so you can't lose it." "Got it, Uncle Ju." Lu Yuan smiled, and then quickly slipped away with the collection of immortal herbs. Lu Yuan quickly left. Being with the Douluo was very stressful. This Douluo's personality was very strange, and Lu Yuan really didn't like being with him. What does he mean by asking me to call him Uncle Ju? Lu Yuan was a little confused. After returning to the island at the center of the lake, Lu Yuan carefully read through the immortal herb collection in his hands. There were all types of immortal herbs recorded in the book, and there were many types that he was familiar with, such as the singular velvet sky chrysanthemum, beautiful silk tulip, yearning heartbroken red, and 8-petal immortal orchid. There were also some that he had never heard of, such as the serene snow exquisite ganoderma, radiant yang essence accumulating grass, profound yang meridian fruit, and so on. Lu Yuan was dazzled by the list. Not only did the book introduce the medicinal properties of each type of immortal herb in detail, it even recorded the method to harvest them. Lu Yuan was ecstatic to see this. With this immortal herb collection, he would be able to sweep through all of the immortal herbs in the ice fire yin yang well. Lu Yuan was completely entranced by the book when a delicate hand suddenly patted him on the shoulder. Lu Yuan's heart jolted with shock, and he reflexively pressed the person behind him onto the bed. A familiar cry of surprise rang out, and Lu Yuan's eyes trembled as the ferocious look in his eyes disappeared. "Senior disciple's sister, why are you here?" Lu Yuan faltered slightly at the sight of Hulina beneath him. He had been completely entranced by the book when he was suddenly interrupted, and he instinctively unleashed a counterattack. But he didn't think that it would be Hulina. "What are you doing, junior disciple brother?" Hulina struggled as Lu Yuan pinned her to the bed with a chokehold. However, Lu Yuan's strength was too great for her to break free. "Oh, senior disciple's sister, I'm sorry. I thought someone had broken in." Lu Yuan retracted his hand in embarrassment and was about to stand up. A sly look flashed across Hulina's eyes when she saw that Lu Yuan was about to stand up. She suddenly wrapped her arms around Lu Yuan's neck. Lu Yuan's legs trembled, and his body fell forward, pressing heavily on Hulina's body. A musky scent wafted into Lu Yuan's nose. This scent was very pleasant, and it was Hulina's scent. "Senior disciple's sister, stop fooling around. Let go of me." With Hulina hugging his neck tightly, Lu Yuan's body and Hulina's body were pressed tightly together. That kind of soft girl's body made Lu Yuan feel a little strange. Ever since his bloodline awakened, Lu Yuan's height had skyrocketed within a year. Although he was only 9 years old, he was already close to 7 meters tall. His height was no less than that of a 13 or 14-year-old boy, and his development was more mature. After all, he was the owner of the Golden Dragon bloodline, so it was normal for him to develop faster. Now that he was so close to Hulina, how could he not feel it? He wanted to get up, but he was afraid that his struggle would hurt Hulina because his current strength was already very strong, close to 10,000 gene. It could be said that it was quite terrifying. In this year of learning from the Golden Crocodile, the things he learned were very simple, which was to train his body and control his strength. He had a good grasp of his strength, but not long ago, he had further awakened his bloodline. Originally, his strength was around 4,000 gene, but now it was close to 10,000 gene, making it difficult to control. If he wanted to properly control his strength, he'd need a bit of time to get used to it. But right now, he wasn't able to perfectly control his strength. Hulina was a high-stage soul exalt, but she was skilled in using her spirit. Her physical body was weak, and Bai Yunfei was worried that he'd accidentally hurt her. "I won't," Hulina said in a proud tone. Her hands were tightly wrapped around Lu Yuan's neck, and the two were staring at each other. They could hear each other's breathing. Looking at Lu Yuan's handsome face, Hulina's face reddened, and she said shyly, "Junior brother, I think I might like you. What do you think I should do?" Bang! Hulina's voice was like a heavy hammer to Lu Yuan's head, causing his heart to be in a perilous situation. How could Hulina like him? He only had Qian Rinxue in his heart. "Senior sister, don't joke around. This isn't funny at all." Lu Yuan's eyes flashed. Chapter 82. "I'm not joking." Hulina looked at Lu Yuan and said in a serious tone. She was a person who dared to love and hate. Since she liked Lu Yuan, even if she was a little shy, she still said it in front of Lu Yuan without hesitation. Facing Hulina's sparkling eyes, Lu Yuan's heart was a little tangled and evasive. He really treated Hulina as an elder sister. Now his heart only had Chihiro Snow. Senior sister, I already have someone I like. Lu Yuan hesitated for a long time, and then made up his mind. Even if he hurt Hulina's heart, he had to make it clear. Otherwise, if this continued, it would be more troublesome. As for why he didn't accept both of them, well, Lu Yuan really didn't have this thought, but now that he hadn't settled Chihiro Snow, he didn't have the mood to provoke others. Is it that Chihiro Snow? Hulina's voice trembled, and there was a trace of unwillingness. Yes, Lu Yuan nodded and didn't hide it. He liked Chihiro Snow, and there was no need to hide it. Even in front of Bibidon and Sendoryu, he dared to say it out loud. He wasn't like Yu Xiaojing, that trash who didn't dare to say that he liked her. He, Lu Yuan, liked Chihiro Snow. In this life, he must marry her. That's how firm he was. Hearing Lu Yuan's words without hesitation, Hulina's eyes reddened, and she looked straight at Lu Yuan. Looking at Hulina's lonely face, Lu Yuan's heart couldn't bear it. After all, Hulina was one of the few people he cared about in this world. Junior brother, what's wrong with me? What can I not compare to her? Is my figure not good? Am I not pretty? Her first confession was rejected. This made Hulina feel a little frustrated. At the same time, she felt a strong sense of unwillingness. What was wrong with her, Hulina? Did Lu Yuan really look down on her that much? Seeing the tears in Hulina's eyes, Lu Yuan couldn't bear it and said softly, Senior sister, of course you're good. You're beautiful and have a good figure. Hulina's figure was definitely not bad. Although she was only 14 years old, she already had the size of a double C. Moreover, her slender waist and charming face were simply bursting with temptation. It could be said that among the younger generation of the martial Soul Palace, Hulina was the goddess of more than 90% of the male students. For example, Yin of the Golden Generation was Hulina's loyal bootlicker. Unfortunately, the bootlicker ended up with nothing in the end. Then why don't you like me? Hulina looked at Lu Yuan with misty eyes. Lu Yuan gently wiped away the tears in Hulina's eyes and said, You don't need a reason to like someone. When I saw Cher for the first time, I knew that I had fallen in love with her. From the first time? You're saying that you've liked her since you were 6 years old? Hulina opened her eyes wide. What kind of magic did this Chihiro Snow have? You fell in love with her at first sight. I've slept with you on the same bed for almost 3 years. In the end, I was rejected when I confessed to you. This made Hulina feel even more unbalanced. Lu Yuan nodded lightly. Is this Chihiro Snow beautiful? How's her figure? Is her talent as good as mine? Girls loved to compare themselves, especially a proud girl like Hulina. She couldn't stand being inferior to another girl, especially when the boy she liked talked about another girl. The tenderness in his eyes made Hulina even angrier. Cher is very beautiful. Her figure is also very good. As for her talent, she should be a little bit better than you. Lu Yuan said slowly, not daring to look at Hulina's eyes. What? Hearing Lu Yuan seriously say that Chihiro Snow was more talented than her, Hulina felt extremely unbalanced in her heart. Lu Yuan, you have no conscience. Even if her talent is better than mine, can't you say it tactfully? Will it kill you to comfort me? She pulled Lu Yuan's head back to the side. Hulina pretended to be fierce and said, Try saying what you just said again. Senior sister, you. Seeing Hulina's originally teary eyes filled with anger, Lu Yuan suddenly came back to his senses. He actually said that Chihiro Snow was better than her in front of Hulina. Wasn't this courting death? Did he lose his mind just now? Huh. Lu Yuan laughed awkwardly as he tried to avoid eye contact. Look at my eyes. Hulina's tone was light, but it had a trace of determination. Lu Yuan unconsciously looked at Hulina. Looking at Hulina's serious expression, this was the first time he saw Hulina like this. Lu Yuan, Hulina, like you. I won't give up. Hulina's eyes were firm. Even if Lu Yuan liked Chihiro Snow, so what? She was going to snatch Lu Yuan. Senior sister, you. I already have someone I like. You don't have to. Before Lu Yuan could finish, Hulina suddenly raised her head and cut him off. Lu Yuan's eyes widened. Hulina's red lips were pressed against his. He was actually being kissed by Hulina. It had always been him kissing others. Today, he was actually being kissed by someone, and this person was his senior sister. Lu Yuan looked at Hulina in disbelief. He didn't think that Hulina would be so bold. Hulina bit down hard, her eyes unwilling to be outdone as she looked at Lu Yuan. The two of them stared at each other for a long time. Hulina's eyes burned with stubbornness. She was a person who dared to love and hate. Since she liked someone, she would definitely fight for it. Chihiro Snow was far away in Heaven Do, but she was with Lu Yuan every day. She didn't believe that she couldn't win over Lu Yuan with her methods. The pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. As long as she used the hoe well, there was no wall that couldn't be dug down. Starting from today, seeing the provocation in Hulina's eyes, Lu Yuan suddenly felt a surge of anger. He wrapped his arms around Hulina's slender waist and launched a counterattack against Hulina's red lips. Sensing Lu Yuan's sudden counterattack, Hulina was stunned. Then, a trace of a smile appeared in the corner of her eyes. Hugging Hulina tightly in his arms, Lu Yuan kissed Hulina's lips forcefully. Hulina also hugged Lu Yuan tightly and responded passionately. In the blink of an eye, several minutes passed. A trace of light flashed through Lu Yuan's mind, and he instantly woke up. Looking at Hulina, he hurriedly let go of her and raised his head. His lips parted. Looking at Hulina in front of him, Lu Yuan's eyes were filled with complex emotions. A trace of reluctance flashed through Hulina's eyes. Her hands were still tightly wrapped around Lu Yuan's neck, and her eyes were filled with affection. Junior brother, senior sister, let go of me. Lu Yuan's eyes flashed with a trace of shame as he spoke softly. Hulina didn't speak. She gently kissed Lu Yuan's lips again. Then, she moved closer to Lu Yuan's ear and said softly, "Junior brother, I won't give up on you." After saying that, she let go of his arms. After getting rid of Hulina's restraint, Lu Yuan hurriedly stood up. Looking at Hulina, who was still lying on the bed, a trace of panic flashed through his eyes as he said, "Senior sister, I still have to return the book to Elder Ju. I'll leave first." After saying that, he hurriedly ran out of the door. Looking at Lu Yuan's fleeing figure, Hulina chuckled. She stretched out her jade hand and held it tightly. Her voice was soft as she said, "Junior brother, you definitely can't escape from my palm." Chapter 83. Lu Yuan ran all the way out of the room and came to an open space, where he gave himself a hard slap. Just now, how could he face Xiao Shui? Feeling the burning pain on his face, Lu Yuan's heart was filled with self-blame. This was great. He had wanted to make things clear with senior sister, but with this move, things were getting more and more messed up. Why did he suddenly have such an inexplicable anger? Actually, Lu Yuan didn't know that this was actually the influence of his martial soul. The power of the God-slaying spear was indeed limitless. Even though he had the clear breath scripture protecting him, and even though Lu Yuan hadn't used it again, the God-slaying spear was still subtly influencing Lu Yuan. Normally, it wasn't obvious, but under the temptation of Hulina, Lu Yuan's desire was instantly magnified under the stimulation of the God-slaying spear, which led to his actions this time. Not long after, under the influence of the clear breath scripture, Lu Yuan recovered. Although the God-slaying spear couldn't affect Lu Yuan normally, when Lu Yuan's emotions fluctuated, it was very likely that he would be taken advantage of and be influenced to do things that went against his original intentions. Other than the God-slaying spear, the Golden Dragon martial soul and the Golden Dragon's bloodline also had a certain influence. Dragons were lustful by nature. This was an objective fact. The more chi and blood, the stronger the essence, the easier it was to be tempted when it came to that kind of thing. Luckily, Lu Yuan had the clear breath scripture to calm his mind. In addition, Lu Yuan's willpower was very strong, so he had been able to control it very well. However, Hulina was a naturally seductive person. Her allure was imaginable. After such intimate contact with Hulina, even with the clear breath scripture, Lu Yuan's bloodline couldn't help but become restless. In addition, the God-slaying spear added fuel to the fire and gave the final blow, which was why Lu Yuan had acted so inappropriately. Luckily, He reacted in time, and nothing irreversible happened. Otherwise, he really wouldn't have the face to see Chihiro Snow again. Even if she wanted to do something inappropriate, she had to do it with Chihiro Snow first. However, Lu Yuan hadn't thought of this yet. He thought that it was because his willpower wasn't strong enough. No, this can't go on. After today's incident, Lu Yuan's heart was somewhat traumatized. If he continued to be with Hulina and slept on the same bed every night, he was really afraid that he wouldn't be able to control himself and would regret it forever. Originally, Lu Yuan was very confident in his self-control, but now he was a little uncertain. Why don't we leave for a while first? Lu Yuan said secretly. Hey, that's a good idea. Lu Yuan praised his own idea. As long as he left Martial Spirit City, not only could he escape the temptation of Hulina, he could also find Chihiro Snow. It could be said that he was killing two birds with one stone. But what reason should I use? He was only 9 years old now. Even if he wanted to go out and gain experience, Bibidon might not allow it. As he thought about it, Lu Yuan's eyes suddenly lit up. I could go back and see the old man. I haven't seen him for 3 years. I think Master won't reject my suggestion. When I come back, I can also find time to go to Heaven Do to see Cher. Aya, that's great. I'm really smart. Lu Yuan clapped his hands and praised his own idea. The next day, you want to go back to Nodding City? In the Pope's palace, Bibidon looked at the young man who was almost the same age as himself. His eyes were filled with emotion. This disciple of his was not only handsome, but also talented, loyal, and wise. He was really a rare talent. No matter what, he was very satisfied with him. Beside Bibidon, Hulina suddenly raised her head when she heard that Lu Yuan wanted to leave the Martial Spirit Palace and go to Nodding City. There was a trace of sadness in her eyes. How could someone as smart as her not think of Lu Yuan's idea? Do you want to avoid me that much? Hulina thought to herself. Looking at Hulina's eyes, Lu Yuan looked away guiltily. Yes, Master. I haven't seen my father for 3 years. I miss him very much. Lu Yuan said. If that's the case, then go. I'll get someone to escort you back. Bibidon said. Lu Yuan wanted to see his family. Bibidon naturally wouldn't reject such a request. Thank you, Master. Lu Yuan was secretly happy. It seemed that he would be able to leave Hulina very soon. It was really uncomfortable to be tempted by such a seductress all day. However, he could finally escape from the sea of suffering. Master, I'm also very interested in Junior Brother's hometown. Can I go with Junior Brother to take a look? Hulina suddenly said, just as Lu Yuan was feeling complacent. Sure, Bibidon said lightly. Then this time, you can go with Obuchi. Thank you, Master. Hulina was like a weasel who had stolen a chicken. She looked at Lu Yuan proudly. Junior Brother, you want to get rid of your senior sister? No way. Lu Yuan's face stiffened. Damn it, she's going to follow me to death. Junior Brother, you don't have any objections, right? Hulina looked at Lu Yuan playfully with a smile on her lips. No, of course not. I'm very happy that senior sister can go to Nodding Academy to take a look. Lu Yuan was a little depressed, but he still had to pinch his nose and say such words. Then I'll have to trouble Junior Brother to take care of me, Hulina said with a smile. Before Lu Yuan could say anything, Bibidon said, Obuchi, when you go back to Nodding City, bring your senior sister around. You're more familiar with the place. Also, it's rare for your senior sister to go out, so have fun. Yes, Master. Although he was very depressed, Lu Yuan still had to agree to Bibidon. Turning his head to look at Hulina, Lu Yuan said with a fake smile, Senior sister, don't worry. I'll take good care of you. Thank you, Junior Brother. Hulina secretly wrinkled her cute nose at Lu Yuan. The corner of Lu Yuan's mouth twitched. It's over this time. I've dug a hole for myself. Lu Yuan was a little helpless. He cupped his hands at Bibidon and said, Master, I'll go back and prepare first. Since he was going back to Nodding City to see the fellows, he had to bring something back and let the old man have a taste of the specialties of Martial Spirit City. Go. Bibidon waved his hand and said. Lu Yuan bowed again and turned to leave. When he turned around, he deliberately glared at Hulina. Hulina made a funny face at Lu Yuan, full of the joy of victory. Lu Yuan left. BB Don looked at Lu Yuan's back as he left, then looked at Hulina and asked curiously, "Nana, I noticed that your and Obuchi's lips were a little red and swollen. What's going on?" Hearing this, Hulina's face instantly turned red. Chapter 84. Hearing Bibidon's question, Hulina's face blushed. Her lips were red and swollen from kissing. "Damn, junior brother, why did you kiss so hard? Now that teacher found out, it was so embarrassing. Maybe it's because the food has been too good recently, so I'm a little heaty." Hulina closed her eyes and made up a story. "Heaty." Bibidon's eyes flashed with a strange look. "Do you really think that I, BB Don, don't know anything? I've eaten more salt than the rice you've eaten." Cough, cough. BB Don coughed twice and said, "Nana, you and your junior brother are still young, so that do you understand? And this disciple understands." Hulina's face was red. Damn it, teacher really found out. Hulina's head was lowered. She wanted to find a hole to hide in. It was too embarrassing. Looking at the shy Hulina, BB Don knew that her disciple was shy, so she didn't continue to tease her. She said seriously, "This time when you go out with your junior brother, you have to take good care of him. Although he's very mature, he's still a 9-year-old child. As a senior sister, you have to be more tolerant." "Understood, teacher." Hulina nodded her head lightly. BB Don sighed. She patted Hulina's head and asked, "Nana, do you really like your junior brother?" Bibidon's tone was a little complicated. Because her daughter also seemed to this damn brat, how could he capture both her disciple and her daughter in one fell swoop? Thinking of this, BB Don couldn't help but feel angry. Whether it was Chihiro Snow or Hulina, they were both talented and beautiful girls. In the end, it seemed that they were going to fall into the hands of Lu Yuan. Even though Lu Yuan was her disciple, even though they were as close as flesh and blood, BB Don was still a little jealous. She always had the illusion that her cabbage was being eaten by a pig, but fortunately, this pig was also her own. Hulina nodded and replied softly. She really fell in love with Lu Yuan. She didn't know when it started, but in the beginning, she always liked to tease her junior brother. However, as time passed, Lu Yuan's talent, Lu Yuan's strength, Lu Yuan's wisdom, as well as his handsome appearance, everything about Lu Yuan seemed to be deeply engraved in her mind. Her teasing of Lu Yuan had long evolved into deep affection. Every night, when Lu Yuan was meditating, she would closely watch him from behind for a long time before falling asleep. Every day, when she woke up and opened her eyes, she could see Lu Yuan's handsome face. This feeling made Hulina deeply intoxicated. It was a pity that Lu Yuan, her beloved junior brother, also seemed to have his own sweetheart. This made Hulina somewhat frustrated. In the depths of her heart, she actually felt a little jealous of Chihiro Snow, whom she had never met. Sigh. Seeing Hulina's expression, BB Don knew that this girl had already fallen deeply and couldn't extricate herself. But Lu Yuan, that brat. Thinking of how Lu Yuan used to go to the plum garden almost every day, rain or shine, BB Don knew that this disciple of his had probably fallen in love with his daughter. On one side was his daughter, and on the other side was his disciple. BB Don was also somewhat in a difficult position. She had raised Hulina since she was a child and had long regarded her as her own daughter. And Chihiro Snow was born from her 10 months of pregnancy. Even if BB Don hated Chihiro Snow because of Chihiro disease, but the affection between mother and son was deep, she still loved Chihiro Snow in her heart. In this way, both of them were flesh and blood. If you really like Obuchi, then go ahead and pursue him. Obuchi is a good child. He values friendship and righteousness. He is also a good match for you. In Bibidon's heart, this disciple of Lu Yuan was her greatest pride. There was not a single flaw in him. But perhaps it was because of this perfection that he was particularly attractive to women. Even Chihiro Snow and Hulina, who had extremely high standards, were unknowingly captivated by him. Although he was somewhat dissatisfied with Chihiro Snow and Hulina liking the same person at the same time, this person was Lu Yuan. BB Dawn could still accept it after struggling for a while. At worst, the two of them would be together. This kid was really lucky. If Lu Yuan knew what BB Dawn was thinking now, he would definitely give her a thumbs up. As expected of the Pope, his mind was so broad. Unfortunately, he did not know, so he was still worried about how to deal with Hulina. Hulina was also surprised when she heard Bibidon's words. Then, her pretty face was full of joy. "Teacher, you agree that I and BB Dawn nodded. But junior brother seems to already have someone he likes," Hulina said in a disappointed tone. BB Dawn smiled and said, "This will depend on your own ability. How can you make Obuchi approve of you? Teacher believes that you can do it. I will not give up." With Bibidon's support, Hulina was full of confidence. "Teacher, thank you." Hulina bowed deeply to BB Dawn. "You little girl." BB Dawn patted Hulina's shoulder and said with a smile, "Go." Hulina nodded and then walked out of the Pope's palace. Just as Hulina was about to go out, Bibidon's voice came. "Your junior brother attracts the attention of girls too easily, so this time you have to be careful when you go out. Don't let your junior brother be snatched away." Bibidon's tone was playful. I know. I won't let those vixens have a chance to get close to junior brother," Hulina said, and then turned to leave the Pope's palace. "Vixens?" Bibidon's face showed a trace of strangeness. "This girl, are you talking about yourself?" Saying that, he shook his head helplessly. Bang! A pillow hit Lu Yuan's head and hit him in the head. "Senior sister, what are you doing?" Seeing Hulina holding a pillow in each hand, Lu Yuan had a trace of helplessness. It's all your fault," Hulina said coquettishly. "It's all my fault? What did I do wrong?" Lu Yuan was a little confused. "You hit me with a pillow as soon as you came in, and now you're blaming me? Do you think I, Lu Yuan, don't have a temper?" Looking at Lu Yuan's innocent look, Hulina didn't know where the fire came from. She pointed at her red lips and said, Look at what?" Seeing Hulina pointing at her red lips, Lu Yuan's face was full of confusion. "What? This girl still hasn't kissed enough." Although it was very comfortable to kiss, but he already had little snow in his heart. He wouldn't do such a thing again. "Look, my lips are swollen," Hulina said word by word. "So what? Am I not the same?" Lu Yuan said indifferently. "Who told you to bite so hard last night? I couldn't hold back. You can't blame me." Looking at Lu Yuan's indifferent look, Hulina stomped her feet and said, "Teacher knows about what happened last night. Doesn't she know?" Lu Yuan waved his hand and suddenly reacted. He stood up and asked, What did you say? Teacher knows?" Chapter 85. Hearing that BB Dawn knew that he and Hulina kissed, Lu Yuan was a little flustered. If BB Dawn thought that there was something between him and Hulina, then wouldn't his relationship with Chihiro Snow be ruined? It must be known that whether it was Hulina or Chihiro Snow, they were both very important to BB Dawn. If it was just any one of them, as long as Lu Yuan liked them, he believed that BB Dawn wouldn't mind. Instead, he would be happy to see it happen. But if it was related to both of them, Lu Yuan was really worried that BB Dawn would kill him. "What did the teacher say?" Lu Yuan asked cautiously. Looking at Lu Yuan's worried and scared look, Hulina curled her lips and said, "What? Are you afraid?" Before Lu Yuan could speak, Hulina's voice sounded again. "I'm afraid. You didn't kiss me back then. Oh, so I kissed you first?" Hearing the ridicule in Hulina's tone, Lu Yuan said indifferently, "Didn't you also not refuse? I saw that you kissed so passionately afterwards." Hulina said indifferently. Hearing these words, Lu Yuan's face stiffened. Indeed, this was his fault, and he couldn't shake it off. "How was it? Did it feel good to kiss your senior sister?" Looking at Lu Yuan's stiff face, Hulina deliberately moved in front of Lu Yuan and blew a breath at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan rolled his eyes. The woman in front of him was really narcissistic. However, the feeling of kissing was really good. However, Lu Yuan couldn't admit defeat with his mouth. He gently turned his head and said, "It's just like that. Stubborn duck." Hulina scolded softly when she saw Lu Yuan's arrogant look. "What? Do you still want to try with your senior sister?" Hulina licked her red lips, a charming look on her face. Looking at Hulina's alluring red lips, Lu Yuan fiercely shook his head and said, "Forget it. I'm not interested." "Oh, I'm not interested in your senior sister. Are you interested in that Chihiro Snow?" Hulina said lightly with a hint of jealousy in her voice. "That's right." Lu Yuan nodded without hesitation. "You." Her chest heaved with anger at Lu Yuan's attitude. Hulina suppressed the anger in her heart and said, "What? Did young Master Lu kiss that Chihiro Snow?" "That's right." Lu Yuan's habitual reply burst out. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately regretted it. "You guys really kissed? Then last night wasn't your first kiss?" Hulina touched her chest with a trace of tears in her eyes. "Senior sister, Lu Yuan had just opened his mouth when he was interrupted by Hulina. "Don't say anything." Hulina walked towards Lu Yuan, her eyes fixed on him. Lu Yuan slowly retreated and sat down on the bed with a plop. Looking at the approaching Hulina, he couldn't help but feel his heart tremble. "Senior sister, what are you trying to do? Don't mess around." Hulina took a step forward and pressed Lu Yuan down on the bed. Then she stared at Lu Yuan and said, "Since last night wasn't your first kiss, then I can't lose out. I want to make up for my loss." As she spoke, her red lips pressed towards Lu Yuan. "Senior sister, don't." Before he could finish his words, his lips were blocked by her red lips. Lu Yuan's eyes widened. At the same time, he secretly circulated the clear chi scripture to calm his mind. He was afraid that he would suddenly become impulsive like last night. He raised his hand to push Hulina away, but Hulina hugged his neck. Her slender white legs were tightly wrapped around Lu Yuan's body like an octopus. Lu Yuan was a little helpless. If he used force, he could break free, but that would definitely hurt Hulina. He immediately sighed in his heart and said secretly, "Little Shui, you really can't blame me this time. I was forced to do it." He didn't respond or resist. Hulina kissed for a while. Seeing that Lu Yuan didn't respond at all, her heart ached. She fiercely clenched her teeth, and a wave of pain instantly filled Lu Yuan's mind. Blood dripped from between their lips. Hulina let go of Lu Yuan. Her red lips were still stained with Lu Yuan's blood. Her originally red lips became even more seductive. Lu Yuan sighed helplessly and touched his lower lip. There was a small wound on it, and there was also a conspicuous bite mark. Lu Yuan raised his head. Hulina happened to glance over as well. Their eyes met, and they didn't speak for a long time. The next day, outside the Pope's palace, the carriage back to Nordine was already prepared. It was quite luxurious. Looking at Hulina, who didn't seem to have any abnormalities, Lu Yuan blinked and asked, "Senior sister, you really want to go back with me? Why am I not welcome?" Hulina said lightly, "No, if senior sister is willing to go with me, I'm more than happy to," Lu Yuan said. Lu Yuan was now very helpless towards Hulina. Their relationship was really getting more and more complicated. If he had originally dared to pat his chest and say that he didn't have any feelings for Hulina, after 2 kisses, he no longer had the courage to say such words. People can't lie to themselves. If he asked himself honestly, if Hulina were to marry someone else in the future, would Lu Yuan really be willing? Most likely, he wouldn't be willing. He really didn't know how to face his relationship with Hulina. If he said that he liked someone, then he still loved Chihiro Snow. This had never changed. If he had to choose one, then he would still choose Chihiro Snow. But it was undeniable that he also had feelings for Hulina. "Looks like I'm not a good person either." Lu Yuan secretly mocked himself. He had already fallen in love with Chihiro Snow, but under Hulina's teasing, he still couldn't help but be moved. Sure enough, there were no good men. Eating in the bowl and looking at the pot. He had always thought that he was different from other men, but now, it seemed that he was just as bad. Hulina naturally didn't know what Lu Yuan was thinking. At this time, she was looking at BB Don, who was walking over. Behind BB Don was an old man in black with a head full of white hair. He was Lu Yuan's other teacher, Golden Crocodile. "Greetings, teacher, Golden Crocodile." Hulina's voice sounded, waking Lu Yuan up. "Greetings, teacher, Grandpa, Golden Crocodile." Lu Yuan also hurriedly bowed. BB Don waved his hand and said, "No need to be so polite. Obuchi, Nana, this time, the second consecrator will escort you back to Nodding City. You have to listen to the second consecrator's words along the way. Understood, teacher. Both of them replied in unison. Then we'll have to trouble you. Grandpa, Golden Crocodile, Lu Yuan said. The golden alligator, Douluo, nodded and revealed a smile at the corner of his mouth. He said, "It's no trouble at all. I also want to go to Nodding City to see what kind of place could nurture a genius like you." Looking at Lu Yuan, the golden crocodile's eyes were full of smiles. He was quite satisfied with Lu Yuan after teaching him for more than a year. He didn't have any children and had long treated Lu Yuan as his own grandson. And it was also because of Lu Yuan's existence that the relationship between the Pope's palace and the consecrator's palace eased a lot. Otherwise, BB Don wouldn't have come with the golden crocodile this time. Chapter 86. You're too kind. Lu Yuan was a little embarrassed to be praised by the golden crocodile. No, you're worthy of it. I'm not spouting nonsense. The golden crocodile said. Ugh. Lu Yuan didn't know what to say. All right, Bibidon's voice sounded. Since everything is ready, let's set off. Second priest, I'll leave Obuchi and Na to you. Leave it to me. The golden crocodile nodded. BB Don was relieved when he heard this. The golden crocodile was a rank 98 pinnacle Douluo. Apart from the 3 exceptional Douluo and BB Don, he was invincible. Even Tang Hao was no match for him now. Unless Tang Hao recovered from his injuries, he could still fight him with his great Meru hammer and explosive bracelet. Otherwise, he would be courting death if he met him. Therefore, with the golden crocodile around, Lu Yuan and Hulina's journey was as safe as Mount Tai. Lu Yuan and Hulina boarded the carriage. They didn't arrange for a coachman, and the golden crocodile directly acted as the coachman. Under Bibidon's gaze, Lu Yuan waved his hand reluctantly and set off. The carriage slowly left Martial Spirit City. Just like when they arrived, it would take at least half a month to travel from the Martial Spirit City to the Nodding Academy. Moreover, Lu Yuan was not in a hurry this time. Instead, he had a relaxed attitude along the way, which was why he was moving at a much slower pace. After all, there was Hulina besides him. His feelings for Hulina were a little complicated now. He couldn't say that he loved her. It wasn't to that extent, but he already had feelings for her. So unconsciously, he took Hulina into consideration. Speaking of which, Hulina had never left Martial Spirit City apart from attending classes in the Prodigy Training Camp and the Martial Soul Academy. She was very curious about the outside world. Although Lu Yuan did not say it out loud, deep down in his heart, perhaps even he himself did not know that he had feelings for Hulina. It was just that his heart had always been filled with Qian Renshue, and his obsession was too strong, so he subconsciously ignored it. Seeing Hulina's slightly red eyes, Lu Yuan asked softly, "Senior, what's wrong? Are you reluctant to part with teacher?" Hulina was different from him. No matter how precocious she was only a 13 or 14-year-old girl. Although she was more mature, she had never gone out alone. She was very dependent on BB Don. In the past, she had never left Martial Spirit City for her training. However, it was different this time. Hulina didn't just treat BB Don as her teacher. She also treated him as a mother figure. She wasn't used to being so far away from BB Don all of a sudden. It was like a student from a modern family. When they left their parents and went to a foreign place to study, they would always feel uneasy and reluctant when they left. Lu Yuan was different. He had the memories of his previous life. In his mind, he was a real adult. To him, this was just a trip. Hulina nodded when she heard Lu Yuan's words. Lu Yuan smiled and pinched Hulina's cheek. Don't worry. It's not like you won't be able to see teacher again. We'll be back in 2 or 3 months at most. Furthermore, the Douluo continent is so big. Don't you want to go out and take a look? Hulina felt relieved when she saw Lu Yuan's gentle smile. Yes, with junior brother by her side. What was there to be afraid of? She grabbed Lu Yuan's hand that was pinching her cheek and put on her face. Hulina's beautiful eyes were misty, and she looked very pitiful. Junior brother, senior sister has never gone out so far. I'll have to trouble junior brother this time. Junior brother, you'll definitely take care of me, right? Lu Yuan's mouth twitched when he saw Hulina's pitiful appearance. This vixen is at it again. He tried to pull his hand back, but Hulina held on tightly. She looked at Lu Yuan with teary eyes. Junior brother. Lu Yuan was defeated when he saw Hulina's expression. He hated seeing Hulina's pitiful appearance the most. She was still too soft-hearted. A crafty look flashed across Hulina's eyes. She secretly made a peace sign in her heart. It was a wide road from Martial Spirit City to the Heaven-Do Empire. With Lu Yuan's speed, they set off early in the morning. They finally reached the border of the Heaven-Do Empire when the sun was setting. It only took a little more than a day to reach the Heaven-Do Imperial City from the border of the Heaven-Do Empire. A horse-drawn carriage sped towards the border under the afterglow of the setting sun. There was a time limit at the border of the Heaven-Do Empire. Although Lu Yuan's group could still enter the Heaven-Do Empire if they missed the time limit, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. It was very likely that their identities would be exposed. Lu Yuan's group had originally planned to keep a low profile. After a day's journey in the carriage, Lin Mingya was quite tired. Lu Yuan was still fine. With the enhancement of the Golden Dragon's bloodline, his body was very strong. It wouldn't be a problem for him to sit for a week, let alone a day. However, Hulina couldn't. Although she was a soul master with a beast martial soul, she focused on spiritual power and charm. Although her physique wasn't bad, it wasn't outstanding either. Furthermore, it was her first time traveling. After sitting in a horse-drawn carriage for so long, it was inevitable that she wasn't used to it. At this moment, she was leaning on Lu Yuan and sleeping soundly. Her slender arms were wrapped around Lu Yuan's waist. Her charming face was leaning on Lu Yuan's shoulder as she slept soundly. A trace of saliva occasionally flowed out from the corner of her mouth, wetting a small part of Lu Yuan's clothes on his shoulder. No one knew Hulina's sleeping habits better than Lu Yuan. After all, they could be considered to have slept on the same bed for almost 3 years. Although Lu Yuan spent every night in meditation, he had helped Hulina cover with a blanket and picked up the blanket countless times. Sometimes, after cultivating in the morning, Hulina would unconsciously release her martial soul in her hazy sleep. Her long foxtail would even wrap around his body. Today's sleeping habits were considered to be well-behaved. Carefully sizing up Hulina, he didn't have to say. Her shapely eyebrows were curved, and her charming face was as white as jade. The sleeping Hulina lacked a trace of charm, but had a trace of purity. She looked exceptionally beautiful. Even after 3 years of being together, Lu Yuan still felt a kind of breathtaking feeling from her. Coupled with her slightly messy hair, Hulina was truly beautiful at this moment. Seeing that the border of Heaven-Do was already within reach, the golden crocodile poked his head in from outside. "Obuchi, we've arrived at the border of Heaven-Do." As soon as he finished speaking, he saw Hulina sleeping on Lu Yuan's shoulder. Her posture was rather ambiguous. A trace of displeasure flashed through the golden crocodile's eyes. In his heart, this cheap disciple of his and Little Snow were a match made in heaven. Although Hulina's talent wasn't bad, she was far from being able to compare to Chihiro's Snow. His thoughts spun. Chapter 87. Grandpa Golden Crocodile. Have we arrived at the border of the Heaven-Do Empire? Lu Yuan asked. Yes. Let's find a hotel to stay in tonight. What do you think, Obuchi? The Golden Crocodile said. Whatever you say. I have no objections. Lu Yuan smiled. The Golden Crocodile nodded and looked at Hulina, who was leaning on Lu Yuan's shoulder. He wanted to say something, but after a long moment of hesitation, he didn't do anything. Grandpa Golden Crocodile? Lu Yuan furrowed his brow when he saw the golden alligator claw staring at Hulina. He asked, "Is there anything else?" "Oh, everything's fine now." The golden alligator claw spoke softly before he retreated and continued driving. Lu Yuan's eyes flashed as he looked at the golden crocodile in front of him. As expected, even with him as a buffer, the Pontiff's palace and the Elder's palace were still estranged. The way the golden crocodile looked at Hulina just now wasn't very friendly. Lu Yuan smiled as he looked at Hulina, who was still sleeping soundly. He thought to himself, "Don't worry, senior sister. I won't let anyone bully you as long as I'm around." Although Lu Yuan had learned from the golden crocodile for more than a year, he still couldn't compare to the fellows, Chihiro Snow, Hulina, and BB Dawn in his heart. This senior sister who secretly liked him was only second to the fellows and Chihiro Snow in his heart. Even BB Dawn was a little inferior. These four people were always in Lu Yuan's heart, and they were the only ones that Lu Yuan approved of. Why else would Lu Yuan have such a hard time resisting Hulina's pursuit? On one hand, it was because of his martial soul and bloodline. On the other hand, Hulina held an important place in Lu Yuan's heart. The reason why Lu Yuan had always been against this relationship was firstly because of Qianren Xue. Secondly, it was because he could not accept the sudden change in the relationship between him and Hulina. This was the main reason why he had always wanted to avoid it. He didn't want to hurt Hulina. However, the change from family to love took some time. When the conditions were right, perhaps Lu Yuan wouldn't be able to resist the feelings that burst from the depths of his heart. However, Lu Yuan misunderstood this time. The golden crocodile looked at Hulina with an unkind gaze because of him. It had nothing to do with the enmity between the pontiff's palace and the elder's hall. This was because the golden crocodile felt that Lu Yuan and Chihiro Snow were a match made in heaven. The union of the golden dragon and the six-winged angel was the union of the heavens. Hulina's existence would undoubtedly affect the relationship between Lu Yuan and Chihiro Snow. This was the main reason why the golden crocodile didn't like Hulina. Of course, Lu Yuan didn't know all of this. He patted Hulina's cheek. It was smooth to the touch. Hulina's skin was quite good. "Senior sister, wake up. We're almost there," Lu Yuan said softly. "Oh, junior brother." Hulina opened her hazy eyes. It was obvious that she still hadn't woken up. "What's wrong, junior brother? I'm so sleepy. Don't disturb me." Hulina pouted her cute red lips and hit Lu Yuan's arm reproachfully. Then, she closed her eyes again. "Huh." Lu Yuan was amused by Hulina's cute appearance. He reached out and gently pinched Hulina's jade-like nose. "Senior sister, don't sleep anymore. We're already at the border of the Heaven Do Empire. Hurry up and get up. We still have dinner to eat in a while." Hulina immediately woke up when Lu Yuan pinched her nose. This time, she was really awake. Hulina blinked her beautiful eyes and yawned deeply. She looked at Lu Yuan with an unfriendly gaze. "Junior brother, give me a reasonable explanation. Why did you wake me up?" Lu Yuan shook his head helplessly. He lifted the curtain next to the carriage and said unhappily, "Look at the sky outside. It's almost dark. You're still sleeping." "Oh, are we at the border of the Heaven Do Empire?" Although Hulina hadn't traveled the continent before, she still recognized the three big words above the city gate. Jialing Pass. "Isn't this the border gate of the Heaven Do Empire?" "That's right. You've been sleeping for the whole afternoon. You must be hungry. Once we enter Jialing Pass, let's find a hotel and eat something." "I'm really hungry." Hulina touched her small belly. Sure enough, it was flat. She only ate some dry food at noon. She was hungry. "Now you don't blame me for waking you up?" Lu Yuan looked at Hulina with a smile that wasn't quite a smile. It's all your fault." Hulina made a face at Lu Yuan, her proud nature exposed. Lu Yuan didn't get angry. He looked at Hulina's arms that were still wrapped around his waist and said with a smile, "Now that you're awake, you can let go of me." I won't." Not only did she not let go, but Hulina hugged him even tighter. Her body kept rubbing against his arm. Feeling the strange feeling coming from his arm, Lu Yuan's heart trembled. He quickly withdrew his hand and opened Hulina's hands. His right index finger gently flicked Hulina's smooth forehead. "Stop messing around." "Ouch." Hulina covered her forehead with her hand, her eyes filled with tears. "Junior brother, you actually hit me?" Her tone seemed to be filled with grievances. Looking at Hulina's performance, Lu Yuan's mouth twitched. This drama queen, she's at it again. After entering Jialing Pass, the golden crocodile directly found a hotel. With the status and vision of the golden crocodile Douluo, he naturally wouldn't find an ordinary hotel. If he wanted to find one, he would naturally find the best. However, since it was a higher-class hotel, it was sometimes more popular. "Waiter, 3 rooms," the Golden Crocodile said. "I'm sorry, sir. There are only 2 rooms left." The waiter said, "Then let's get 2 rooms. Xiao Yuan, you can sleep with me tonight." The little girl can sleep in 1 room by herself. A trace of light flashed past his eyes as the Golden Crocodile said. According to his understanding, Lu Yuan seemed to have been sleeping with Hulina. This wouldn't do. Young people are hot-blooded. It's inevitable that they have to be separated. Lu Yuan didn't have any objections. It was all the same to him. Just as he was about to speak, he was interrupted by Hulina. "Golden Crocodile, it's better for me to share a room with Junior Brother. Junior Brother's sleep is more noisy. It won't be good if he disturbs your rest." Lu Yuan didn't notice it, but Hulina was exceptionally sensitive. Her woman's sixth sense made her feel a trace of threat. This Golden Crocodile seemed to want to separate her and Junior Brother. How could this be? "I moved when I was sleeping." Lu Yuan was about to defend himself. Since when did he move so much when he was sleeping? In the end, before he could say anything, Hulina's jade-like hand pinched his waist. Even with his endurance, he couldn't help but feel a little unbearable pain. He glared at Hulina. Chapter 88. Hulina chose to ignore Lu Yuan's ferocious gaze. Instead, she exerted even more force. Lu Yuan was in so much pain that he couldn't argue with Hulina in public. An ugly smile appeared on his face as he said, "Grandpa Golden Crocodile, I think it's better for me to share a room with Senior Sister. It's rather inconvenient for a man and a woman to share a room." The Golden Crocodile frowned. He didn't expect Hulina to be so bold as to oppose his decision. However, this also showed that she had ulterior motives towards Lu Yuan. For Xiao Shui's happiness, the Golden Crocodile couldn't compromise so easily. What's so inconvenient about it? Junior Brother is still young. Furthermore, we also sleep like this at home. I don't see any inconvenience. You're too worried, revered Golden Crocodile. Hulina smiled sweetly. She didn't seem to be at a disadvantage at all. Lu Yuan stared at Hulina with his eyes wide open. It was as if he was seeing her for the first time. She actually dared to oppose the Golden Crocodile. Where did she get her guts from? The Golden Crocodile was already a rank 98 pinnacle Douluo, while Hulina was only rank 38. The difference between them was like heaven and earth. The attendant at the side was stunned when he heard their conversation. He looked at Hulina, who was speaking with assurance. This girl was a little impressive. She wanted to sleep in the same room as this young man in front of his elders. She was really not afraid. After hearing Hulina's words, the Golden Crocodile was speechless. After all, Hulina had slept in the same room as Lu Yuan in Martial Spirit City. Furthermore, Hulina was right. Lu Yuan was indeed young. He was only 9 years old. In this round, Hulina had the upper hand. "Attendant, give me the key." Hulina smiled. After receiving the key from the attendant, Hulina pulled Lu Yuan upstairs. 520. This was her and Lu Yuan's room. It was an easy number to misunderstand. The room was very big, and the decor was very exquisite. It was rather good. The walls of the room were white, and the ceiling was sky blue. There was a feeling of comfort and contentment in the room. After entering the room and closing the door, Hulina placed her hand on her chest. She didn't feel this way when she was sparring with the Golden Crocodile earlier. But now she was afraid. She actually dared to bicker with a rank 98 pinnacle Douluo. "Hulina, how dare you? Hwas to me's to you. To me to you. She's as twos to me. As twos to two to me." Lu Yuan took the initiative to hold Hulina's hand. Hulina was first shocked when Lu Yuan held her hand. Then she was elated. Could it be that this silly junior brother of mine has been enlightened? I'm so excited that I've forgotten about what happened earlier. She looked at Lu Yuan expectantly. "Thank you, senior sister." Lu Yuan looked straight into Hulina's eyes and said sincerely. "What?" Hulina was stunned. "I'm so excited, but you're thanking me?" Hulina looked straight at Lu Yuan, as if she were looking at a fool. "Senior sister?" Lu Yuan waved his hand in front of Hulina's eyes. What's wrong with her? Why is she looking at him without moving? Hulina slapped Lu Yuan's hand away. Is this fool really stupid, or is he just pretending to be stupid? Lu Yuan is certainly not stupid. He also knows what Hulina wants. Originally, before he chased Chihiro Snow, he really didn't have the mood to accept other people's feelings. Even if Hulina confessed to him and even kissed him forcefully, he still has the heart to resist. However, today, Hulina's feelings for him also moved his heart. Today, during the argument between Hulina and the golden crocodile, Hulina's true feelings interrupted a trace of hesitation in his heart. His heart was moved, and he suddenly had a crazy idea. Maybe it's not impossible to try to accept Hulina. Isn't it just being a scumbag? So be it. Holding Hulina's lily-white hand, Lu Yuan gently pulled, and Hulina's delicate body sank into his embrace. His arms wrapped around Hulina's waist. Lu Yuan tightly hugged her in his arms. Being hugged by Lu Yuan, Hulina's heart trembled, and her red lips couldn't help but open. "Junior brother, don't say anything. Let me hug you." Lightly smelling Hulina's fragrance, Lu Yuan said softly. Hulina softly replied, her voice trembling. This was the first time Lu Yuan took the initiative to hug her. She knew that there was always someone in Lu Yuan's heart, and that it had almost become an obsession. In fact, what she didn't tell Lu Yuan was that during the year when Lu Yuan went to the plum garden, she had secretly followed him out of curiosity. Although she didn't dare to get close for fear of being discovered by the two, so she couldn't hear what the two were talking about. Seeing Lu Yuan and Chihiro Snow talking and laughing, and their actions were quite intimate, she felt very uncomfortable in her heart. It was also from then on that she gradually realized that she didn't just treat her junior brother as a younger brother, spending day and night together. Unknowingly, she had actually fallen deeply in love with her junior brother. However, because she knew what her junior brother was thinking, she didn't know how to say it until a few days ago, when she couldn't hold it in anymore. "Senior sister," Lu Yuan softly said. Hulina softly replied, "What's wrong? I want to be a scumbag." Lu Yuan softly said. "What?" Hulina was a little shocked. What did her junior brother just say? "Nothing, senior sister. Can you give me some time?" Lu Yuan said. Although he had already made a decision in his heart, Lu Yuan still needed some time to adapt. Moreover, he had to tell Chihiro Snow about Hulina's matter. Dating Chihiro Snow and Hulina at the same time was still very difficult. Hulina was still okay, and Lu Yuan was still confident, but Chihiro Snow was very difficult. With Chihiro Snow's arrogance, wanting her to share a man with others, Lu Yuan felt a little numb just thinking about it. It wasn't so easy to be a scumbag, and it wasn't so easy to have a foot in two boats. Moreover, he did need some time to completely change his feelings for Hulina from familial love to love, and this process was destined to take a lot of time. "Okay," Hulina softly replied, tears falling from her eyes. Although her junior brother didn't accept her now, the relationship between her and her junior brother had obviously made a great breakthrough, hadn't it? Moreover, there was still a long way to go. She was only 14, and her junior brother was only 9 years old. They had plenty of time. As if feeling the trembling heart of the person in his arms, Lu Yuan hugged her even tighter. In fact, Lu Yuan had always been an emotional person. Usually, he looked very cold and mature, and seemed to be very rational, but when the softness in his heart was touched, he would be gentler than anyone else. And Hulina's seemingly bold behavior today happened to inadvertently poke the softness in Lu Yuan's heart. Looking back, it turned out that Hulina's feelings for him were already so deep. Therefore, he didn't mind giving himself some time, and also giving Hulina some time. If they could still come together in the end, and Hulina still loved him as before, then even if he was chased around the world by Chihiro Snow with the angel sword, he would accept it. Chapter 89. Lu Yuan was very glad that he was reborn in the Douluo continent. This place still supported polygamy. As long as he had enough strength, he might be able to take both Chihiro Snow and Hulina. Of course, the premise was that he had to defeat Chihiro Snow first. Otherwise, no way. Moreover, there was also Hulina in front of him. She was not easy to talk to. Although she was deeply in love with Lu Yuan, she also had the intention of monopolizing him. It would also be difficult for Hulina to accept Chihiro Snow. After all, Hulina was also a proud daughter of heaven and had her own pride. There was also BB Dawn, this big boss. Lu Yuan was really a little afraid. If he took both Chihiro Snow and Hulina at the same time, would BB Dawn chop him up and scatter his ashes? Thinking of Bibidon's daily methods, it was really possible that she would do such a thing. Thinking about it, Lu Yuan was really a little creeped out. Sigh, it's not easy to be a scumbag. The two hugged for a moment. Then Lu Yuan let go of Hulina. Looking at Hulina's tear-stained eyes, Lu Yuan raised his hand and wiped them away. Let's go down and eat, senior sister. Hulina nodded, appearing abnormally obedient. Holding Hulina's hand, the two walked down side by side. Golden Crocodile had already ordered the dishes, and the place was quiet. It was a private room. Seeing the two walking down side by side, and then seeing their hands together, a trace of haze flashed past his eyes. This little vixen only knows how to seduce Obuchi. No, this old man has to think of a way. Grandpa Golden Crocodile, you must have waited for a long time, Lu Yuan said with a smile. Then, he pulled Hulina to sit beside him. He deliberately made Hulina stay away from the Golden Crocodile. Although he didn't know why the Golden Crocodile was targeting Hulina, his spiritual sense was innately strong. He could feel that the Golden Crocodile had a faint malice towards Hulina, so he subconsciously pulled Hulina to his side. With him by his side, even if the Golden Crocodile really had any ideas, he probably wouldn't act recklessly. In that instant, he was even feeling a little remorseful for bringing the Golden Crocodile along. If the Chrysanthemum Doll had accompanied them, the atmosphere would have been a lot better, even though it would have been a little unbearable to look at. Hulina also seemed to feel Lu Yuan's care for her. Her heart was moved as if she had eaten honey. Is junior brother deliberately protecting me because he's afraid that the Golden Crocodile will hold a grudge because of the argument not long ago? Actually, Hulina was wrong. Lu Yuan didn't even consider that much. He only did this because he felt that something was wrong. The Golden Crocodile also seemed to feel Lu Yuan's wariness. He secretly blamed himself for being too obvious. This kid's perception is really strong. It seems like I can't continue like this. I have to take a roundabout route. The three of them sat down and began to enjoy dinner. The food outside naturally wasn't as exquisite as the food in the Martial Soul Palace. However, when one was hungry, the food was just as delicious. Junior brother, have a piece of meat. Hulina picked up a piece of meat and placed it in Lu Yuan's bowl. Lu Yuan didn't find it strange. He took it and ate it. After living together for almost 3 years, he was already used to this. However, this was the first time the Golden Crocodile had seen it. He immediately felt uncomfortable. His eyes rolled as a plan formed in his mind. Seemingly unintentionally, he suddenly said, Obuchi, we're already at the border of Heaven Do, right? Yes. Lu Yuan didn't reply. He only nodded. The Golden Crocodile continued. We'll be passing by Heaven Do Imperial City in 2 days at the latest. Little Snow is there. Do you want to go see him? Hearing Chihiro Snow's name, Lu Yuan immediately put down his bowl and chopsticks, a trace of gentleness appearing in his eyes. Little Snow, the golden alligator Douluo, immediately noticed her gentleness, and there was a smug look in his eyes as he looked at Hulina. Little Snow's charm is indeed greater. Little vixen, you have no hope. Seeing the Golden Crocodile's provocative gaze, Hulina's heart ached. However, she didn't know what to say. She lowered her head and picked up her chopsticks, poking at the food in her bowl. Little Snow? Thinking of that beautiful girl, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile. He hadn't seen Little Snow in a year. He didn't know how that girl was doing. Was she doing well in the Heaven Do Empire? If he could, he really wanted to fly to Little Snow's side right now and accompany her forever. But after thinking about it carefully, Lu Yuan shook his head. We're not going to Heaven Do Imperial City. The Golden Crocodile and Hulina were startled. However, while the Golden Crocodile was truly shocked, Hulina was pleasantly surprised. Why? Don't you want to see Little Snow? The Golden Crocodile asked. When he mentioned little Snow, the gentleness and yearning in Lu Yuan's eyes couldn't be faked. That was why the golden crocodile was a little puzzled. Hulina also looked at Lu Yuan curiously. She knew that even though Lu Yuan's relationship with her had progressed a little, in Lu Yuan's heart, the one he loved the most was still that girl called Chihiro Snow. No matter how unwilling Hulina was, she knew that in Lu Yuan's heart, her position was far inferior to Chihiro Snow's. Yes, I really want to, but I can't, Lu Yuan softly said. Why? Hulina asked. The big picture is more important. Little Snow's position isn't stable yet, so we can't make any mistakes. Furthermore, we're not just one person, but three. I've never left the Pontiff's palace, so no one knows who I am. But senior apprentice sister and Grandpa Golden Crocodile's portraits aren't a secret to the upper echelons of the various powers. Lu Yuan's words weren't false. He had never left the Pontiff's palace. Most people had only heard of his name, but had never seen him in person. The only ones who knew what he looked like were the various Grand Elders, so his appearance hadn't been leaked out. Hulina was a famous member of the Martial Soul Palace. Not only was she famous in the Pontiff's Palace, but she was also a goddess in the Martial Soul Academy. The Martial Soul Academy had crooks mixed in with the honest folk. Apart from the Martial Soul Palace's members, there were also spies from other powers. Thus, Hulina's information had been leaked long ago. As for the Golden Crocodile, as a rank 98 peak Douluo, he had left an indelible mark on the Douluo continent. Unless the people of the Heaven Do Empire grew up eating rice fields, there was no way the upper echelons of the empire wouldn't recognize the Golden Crocodile. Little Snow's current identity was the empire's crown prince, Shueqinghe. If others found out that he was in contact with the Martial Soul Palace, it would be very detrimental to the entire plan. It might even collapse. Thus, even if he wanted to see Chihiro Snow, now wasn't the time. As for changing his appearance, that was still risky. What if he was accidentally exposed? What should he do then? Thus, now wasn't the time. Furthermore, if he brought Hulina to see Chihiro Snow, it was inevitable that Chihiro Snow wouldn't think much of it. If he wanted to see little Snow, he would have to go alone. Furthermore, that day shouldn't be too far away. Chapter 90. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, the Golden Crocodile nodded. He had thought too much. In order to separate Lu Yuan and Hulina, he had forgotten that Chihiro Snow's current condition could not withstand any accidents. But fortunately, this brat in front of him had thought it through. He had to admit that this brat not only had astonishing talent, but his brain was also very useful. The Golden Crocodile understood, but Hulina still did not understand. Why couldn't they meet? What kind of mission was little Snow carrying out? Was it so secretive? Hulina raised her head and looked at Lu Yuan in confusion. Lu Yuan gently patted Hulina's head and said softly, "Senior sister, I know you have doubts, but don't ask. Even if you ask, I can't tell you now. You will naturally know in the future." Oh, although she still had doubts in her heart, she was a girl who knew when to advance and when to retreat. Since Lu Yuan could not tell her, it meant that this mission was very important. Thus, even if she wanted to know, she could control her curiosity. Let's eat." With a smile on his face, Lu Yuan picked up some food for Hulina. Hulina nodded and continued to eat. Soon, after dinner, everyone returned to their own rooms. After rushing for a day, it was quite tiring. At this time, if they could take a hot bath, it would undoubtedly be very comfortable. Lu Yuan bathed very quickly. Like most boys after bathing, he leaned on the sofa and picked up a book, flipping through it in boredom. It was a habit since childhood that he liked to read books when he had nothing to do. Hulina bathed very slowly. After bathing for more than an hour, she came out of the bathroom. Hulina was wearing a bathrobe, her wet hair falling on her shoulders, looking particularly seductive. "Junior brother, what are you reading? Why are you so engrossed?" Hulina sat on the sofa and leaned against Lu Yuan's shoulder. She took the book from Lu Yuan's hands and read it briefly. Her face was filled with astonishment. Introduction to Self-Created Soul Skills. "Junior brother, Do you want to create your own soul skill? Hulina had a look of astonishment on her face. Every soul master who could create their own soul skills was a genius among geniuses. Even her brother had spent a lot of time and effort to create a self-created soul skill called Full Moon. Furthermore, it was still very crude. As for her junior brother, if she didn't remember wrongly, he seemed to have created his own soul skills. She had seen a set of spear techniques and a set of movement techniques, and they were both very powerful. Therefore, Hulina had always admired Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan's family background was mediocre, so those self-created soul skills couldn't have been passed down from his ancestors. Therefore, they could only have been created by Lu Yuan himself. To be able to create two such powerful soul skills at such a young age, junior brother was truly too amazing. Now, could it be that junior brother wanted to create a new self-created soul skill? Yes. Lu Yuan nodded and said, I have such thoughts. Don't you already have a self-created soul skill? Why do you still want to create one? Hulina asked. Seeing the doubt on Hulina's face, Lu Yuan smiled slightly. He hooked Hulina's nose and said, As my strength grows, so does my strength. The original Phoenix dance of the Six Illusions emphasizes ethereal and nimble movements. It's somewhat inconsistent with my development direction, so I want to create a new movement technique. Phoenix dance of the Six Illusions. Is that the name of your movement technique? Hulina asked. Lu Yuan nodded. Suddenly, he looked at Hulina and his eyes lit up. Junior brother, why are you looking at me like that? Is there something on my face? Hulina touched her face. No. Lu Yuan's gaze was gentle as he asked, Senior sister, do you want to learn my Phoenix dance of the Six Illusions? It can give you speed that's comparable to an agility-type soul master of the same rank. That's a self-created soul skill, and you're willing to teach it to me? Hulina looked at Lu Yuan with sparkling eyes. As long as senior sister wants it, as long as I have it, I'm willing to give it to senior sister. Lu Yuan smiled. The Phoenix dance of the Six Illusions was indeed rare, and it was even more exquisite than the Ghost Shadow perplexing track. However, Lu Yuan was not Tang San, who was limited by his family background. He did not even teach Xiao Wu the martial arts of the Tang sect. He was simply not worthy of being a disciple. To Lu Yuan, it might be a little painful for others to teach him, but if it was Hulina, he didn't mind teaching her. It could also increase Hulina's fighting strength. Junior brother, Hulina was excited. She hugged Lu Yuan, and her face was very close to Lu Yuan's. Junior brother, you're so good to me. As she spoke, she kissed Lu Yuan's lips. His mentality had changed. Ever since he decided to accept Hulina, he didn't resist this kiss as much as before. Instead, he enjoyed it. He sighed in his heart. I'm really a scumbag. Have you taught it to Chihiro Snow? Hulina thought, and the competitive mood in her heart unconsciously crept up. No, because there's no need. Xiao Shui can fly, Lu Yuan said. No matter how powerful the Phoenix dance of the Six Illusions was, it couldn't fly. For Chihiro Snow, who could fly, it wasn't very useful. Moreover, Xiao Shui and I have fought for almost a year. She has her own understanding of speed. My Phoenix dance of the Six Illusions might not be suitable for her. Since he could think of teaching it to Hulina, how could Lu Yuan not think of teaching Chihiro Snow? It was just that Chihiro Snow had already formed his own style. The Phoenix dance of the Six Illusions wasn't suitable for him, and Hulina was a control-type soul master. She wasn't good at speed. The Phoenix dance of the Six Illusions should be of great help to her. Oh, although it wasn't the answer she wanted, Hulina was still very happy. This was because Lu Yuan only taught it to her. She didn't care whether the Phoenix dance of the Six Illusions was suitable for Chihiro Snow or not. As long as Chihiro Snow didn't learn it, and she learned it, she was very happy. From this, it could be seen that Hulina still had a strong competitive heart. Then do you have any ideas about the new movement skill? Hulina asked. Not yet. It's not that easy to create a new movement skill that suits me. It'll take a lot of time. It wasn't easy to create a movement skill that was suitable for him and wasn't inferior to the Phoenix dance of the Six Illusions. Otherwise, self-created soul skills would have been everywhere. Even with Lu Yuan's talent, it would take a very long time to conceive and prepare for this step. Oh, Hulina nodded. She also knew that self-created soul skills weren't that easy to create. Then let's rest. It's not early anymore. We still have to wake up early tomorrow, Hulina said. And Lu Yuan nodded. Junior brother, don't meditate tonight. Lie down and sleep, Hulina said softly. Her charming face was dark red. Lu Yuan was startled. He looked straight at Hulina and said, Senior sister, we're still young. I know, I just want to hug you to sleep, Hulina muttered. Her charming face seemed to be on fire, but her beautiful eyes looked at Lu Yuan with anticipation. Okay, but senior sister, don't mess around. After hesitating for a long time, Lu Yuan nodded with difficulty. Chapter 91. As the sun rose from the east, Lu Yuan opened his eyes. In 3 years, this was the first time he laid down to sleep. The feeling of sleeping was really different from meditation. It was much more comfortable. But in order to cultivate faster, he still had to persist in meditation. Otherwise, he didn't know how long it would take to catch up with Chihiro's snow. Lu Yuan didn't want to be pressed down by Chihiro's snow. He wanted to stand in front of Chihiro's snow and shelter her from the wind and rain. Chihiro Snow's life was miserable. Bibidin's end was tragic. Even Hulina's life was lonely and bitter. If he wanted to change their miserable fate, he needed strength, unparalleled strength. Looking down at Hulina, who was sleeping soundly on his chest, Lu Yuan's mouth revealed a trace of smile. The relationship between him and Hulina was really getting deeper and deeper. In his heart, he liked Hulina more and more. This was a good girl, worthy of being pampered. After I've settled Xiao Shui, we could be together openly. After all, Chihiro Snow was Lu Yuan's most beloved person, and the matter with Hulina still needed Chihiro Snow's approval. After all, even if the three of them were together, the main wife would definitely be Chihiro Snow. Asking for Chihiro Snow's opinion was not because Lu Yuan was afraid of her, but because of respect for Chihiro Snow, respect for the feelings between them. And before that, he wouldn't do anything that crossed the line. Thinking of last night when they slept together, Hulina's small movements, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile. Sure enough, his senior sister still couldn't help but tease him. If he wasn't prepared and tried hard to restrain himself, last night he really couldn't help but take this seductress on the spot. Looking at Hulina's alluring red lips, Lu Yuan couldn't help but gently kiss them. Their lips separated. Hulina opened her beautiful eyes, looking straight at Lu Yuan. Being caught red-handed, Lu Yuan felt a little awkward as he scratched his head. The weather today is pretty good. Huh? Looking at Lu Yuan's awkward expression, Hulina giggled and said, The curtains are still drawn. How do you know that the weather outside is good? It was dawn now, and the sun had just come out. It wasn't very bright outside, so it was hard to tell if the weather outside was good through the curtains. Lu Yuan scratched his head. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Hulina giggled again, a smile flashing across her eyes. She lifted her head slightly, and her red lips pressed onto Lu Yuan's lips. Hulina giggled as she gazed at Lu Yuan's surprised expression, and her beautiful eyes were suffused with a wisp of gentleness as she said, Junior brother, do you know? That was the first time you took the initiative to kiss me. Senior sister is very happy. After working hard for so long, this idiot finally responded. Hulina was indescribably happy. Lu Yuan smiled, scratched Hulina's nose, and said, Get up. We still have to hurry today. Hulina pouted her red lips and said coquettishly, I don't want to, unless you kiss me again. Lu Yuan was stunned, and then once again covered Hulina's red lips. With the first time, he was much more proficient in this second time. This time it should be fine. Looking at Hulina's beautiful face, Lu Yuan smiled. Hulina tapped her chin and said, All right, I'll give you this face. Lu Yuan smiled helplessly, lifted the blanket, and began to put on his clothes. After putting on his clothes, Lu Yuan turned around, and Hulina was standing in front of him. Hulina had changed her clothes today. She was wearing a white short-sleeved shirt, and her proud figure stood upright, revealing 2 snow-white arms. She was wearing shorts, the type that was super short. Her snow-white thighs were exposed to the air, and they were extremely sexy. "You're wearing this?" Lu Yuan's face darkened. If she walked out like this, wouldn't she be seen by others? This is the Douluo continent, not the modern world. What are you trying to do by wearing such open clothes? It didn't matter in front of him, but now that we're outside, you still want to wear this? "What's wrong, can't I?" Hulina asked in a crisp voice, and a trace of craftiness flashed past her eyes. "Of course not. How is this appropriate? Hurry up and change," Lu Yuan said. Hulina laughed and said, "I know, stingy." After saying that, she made a face at Lu Yuan. "I'm stingy." Lu Yuan was so angry that his nose was crooked. This Hulina always thought of ways to tease him. Really? After dressing up and washing up, the two of them went downstairs to eat. After breakfast, the few of them continued on their journey. In the blink of an eye, more than half a month had passed. The horse carriage slowly drove on the streets of Notting City. Looking at the familiar scene, Lu Yuan couldn't help but feel a little homesick. He hadn't been back for more than 3 years, and he wondered how the old man fellows was doing. "Junior brother, is this Notting City?" Hulina asked as she looked at the narrow streets around her, which were further away from martial Spirit City. "Why, it's very shabby, right? Are you disappointed?" Lu Yuan asked with a smile. "Of course not. I think this place is very interesting," Hulina said quickly. Notting City was Lu Yuan's hometown, so how could Hulina say anything bad about it? Moreover, Hulina didn't have any disappointed expression on her face. Instead, she was very interested in Notting City, where Lu Yuan grew up. "Huh!" Looking at Hulina's anxious expression, Lu Yuan chuckled. The horse carriage continued on its journey. "Junior brother, do we go directly to Notting Academy, or do we stop at the local martial spirit branch hall and ask them for help?" Hulina asked. "Let's go directly to the academy. I'm very familiar with this place, so I don't need their help. Moreover, I want to keep a low profile this time, so it's best if my identity isn't exposed for the time being," Lu Yuan said. "All right, we'll listen to you." Hulina nodded. "Obuchi, how do we get to Notting Academy?" Golden Crocodile's voice came from outside. "Just follow this road. Notting Academy is in the center of Notting City, so it's easy to find," Lu Yuan said. "Oh," Golden Crocodile said. Soon, the horse carriage arrived outside Notting Academy. Lu Yuan and Hulina alighted from the horse carriage. Lu Yuan said to Golden Crocodile, "Grandpa Golden Crocodile, let's go in and take a look." "No need you go in by yourself. This old man will walk around outside," Golden Crocodile said. "All right, senior sister, let's go," Lu Yuan said to Hulina. "All right." Hulina held Lu Yuan's hand and followed Lu Yuan towards Notting Academy. "Stop, what are you doing?" Lu Yuan was stopped by the guard at the entrance of Notting Academy. Lu Yuan frowned and looked at the guard. "Wang Wu, you don't even recognize me. You are?" Looking at Lu Yuan in front of him, the guard felt that he looked familiar, as if he had seen him somewhere before. It was no wonder that the guard did not recognize him. Lu Yuan was only 6 years old when he left, and his height was no more than 1.2 to 1.3 meters. However, in just 3 short years, it was as if he had been injected with hormones. His height had skyrocketed to more than 1.6 meters, almost 1.7 meters. His entire person had undergone earth-shattering changes. It would be a miracle if the guard could recognize such a handsome young man. "I am Lu Yuan," Lu Yuan said faintly. "Master Yuan, it's you?" Looking at Lu Yuan's face that still bore some resemblance, the guard Wang Wu finally remembered. He hurriedly said, "You've changed so much in the 3 years you've been gone. This humble one is blind. Please forgive me, young Master Yuan." Chapter 92. "It's fine." Lu Yuan waved his hand and said, "Then can I go in now? Please come in." Wang Wu said respectfully, "Do you need me to inform the dean?" "No need, I can go by myself. You just have to guard the door," Lu Yuan said lightly. "All right, young Master Yuan, take care." Lu Yuan held Hulina's hand and walked side by side on the path of Notting Academy. It was still class time, so there were not many students in Notting Academy's campus. Junior brother, where are we going now? Hulina asked. Home. Oh, yes, the old man and I have a small courtyard in the academy. Let's go there first and wait for the old man to come back, Lu Yuan said. After returning to Notting Academy, Lu Yuan felt an indescribable sense of relief in his heart. This was a feeling that could only be felt in Notting Academy, because this was his home. This was the place where he grew up. With a smile on his face, Lu Yuan's footsteps seemed to have become lighter. Hulina, who was at the side, could clearly feel the change in Lu Yuan. It was the first time she saw Lu Yuan's relaxed smile that came from the bottom of his heart. She could not help but stare blankly for a moment. Junior brother, you're too handsome. Hulina seemed to have a little person shouting in her heart. While Lu Yuan was not paying attention, she quietly moved the small hand that was held in Lu Yuan's palm. With a backhand grip, their fingers interlocked. Lu Yuan tilted his head slightly and saw Hulina's beautiful face and a pair of sparkling, beautiful eyes. Looking at Hulina's eyes that were overflowing with love, Lu Yuan could not help but use a little more strength and firmly held Hulina's lily-white hand. Junior brother, is this your and uncle's home? Hulina asked with a smile as she looked at the small but neatly decorated courtyard in front of her. Yes. Lu Yuan pulled Hulina into the small courtyard and looked at the familiar furnishings. Nothing seemed to have changed here. This is the place where I grew up. Look, that's the place where I train every morning. Lu Yuan pointed to a corner of the courtyard. The ground there was bumpy, and there was a huge banyan tree with deep fist marks. Those were the marks that Lu Yuan made when he was training. Yes, that's great. Hulina smiled. Great? Lu Yuan was somewhat puzzled. Hulina took a deep breath and said, This place is filled with the traces you left behind. How nice. Lu Yuan's heart warmed when he heard Hulina's words that were filled with sincerity. The gaze he used to look at Hulina became even gentler. Senior sister, why are you so good at talking? You move me from time to time. Lu Yuan and Hulina were able to quickly warm up in less than a month because of Hulina's methods. It was easy for a woman to chase a man. Hulina did not hide her feelings at all. She was passionate, bold, and sincere. Instead, it made Lu Yuan's heart, which was originally only for one person, forcefully filled with another person. In the face of such a beautiful, unrestrained, sexy girl who truly loved you, how many men would be so heartless as to reject her? Unless he was a eunuch. Of course, Lu Yuan was not a eunuch. On the contrary, his ability was far more powerful than others. He was also a normal man. In the face of Hulina's offensive, although he tried his best to resist, in the end, he was unable to resist. Hulina and Chihiro Snow were completely different types. Hulina was passionate and unrestrained. Chihiro Snow was cold and shy. It was extremely difficult to get Chihiro Snow to say words of love. She would only hide them deep in her heart. Therefore, when she was with Chihiro Snow, it was always Lu Yuan who took the initiative. When he was with Hulina, it was Hulina who took the initiative. Hulina's initiative and passion were simply too much for Lu Yuan to bear. Unknowingly, he quietly fell for her. Senior sister. Lu Yuan gazed at Hulina with gentle eyes. Junior brother. Hulina also looked at Lu Yuan gently. The two people's figures slowly approached. Suddenly, a voice sounded. Ahem, who are you? Whispering sweet nothings in this old man's courtyard. Which class are you from? Do you know the rules? Ah, startled by the voice, Hulina's pretty face turned red and immediately hid behind Lu Yuan. Speaking of which, Hulina was a very interesting girl. She was bold but also shy. Sometimes she was bold and unrestrained, but sometimes she was very thin-skinned. For example now, if it was only Lu Yuan, Hulina would not feel shy even if she made any seductive movements. However, there were others present. Even if they only saw her and Lu Yuan kissing, she was still very shy. What old man? I haven't seen you for 3 years, and you don't even recognize me. Hearing the familiar voice, Lu Yuan's mouth hooked up into a smile. Who else could this voice be other than the old man fellows? Your Obuchi? Looking at the changed Lu Yuan in front of him, the fellows could still see the shadow of his original self. He was shocked and said, "Kid, how did you grow so fast?" "My bloodline awakened, so I grew faster," Lu Yuan said with a smile. "Bloodline?" "Golden Dragon bloodline." "Old man, you didn't expect it, right?" "Besides the Golden Dragon martial soul, I also have the Golden Dragon bloodline," Lu Yuan said proudly, without the slightest intention of hiding it. For him, the fellows was the person he trusted the most. There was no one else he trusted more than Chihiro Snow. It was not because of anything else, but because it was the old man in front of him who raised him from a young age. It was the old man in front of him who gave him the chance to survive. The kindness of raising him was greater than the heavens. Lu Yuan did not dare to say anything else, but he was a very principled person. The kindness of a drop of water should be repaid with a gushing spring, let alone the kindness of raising him. In his heart, the fellows was his eternal father in this life. If he became a god in the future, he would bring the fellows along no matter what. He was not like Tang San, who only cared about becoming a god and let you Xiaojiang, Lu Erlong, and the others die of old age in the Douluo continent. The so-called a teacher for a day, a father for life was like a fart. It was also the first time Hulina heard that Lu Yuan actually had the Golden Dragon bloodline other than the Golden Dragon martial soul. She had slept with Lu Yuan for 3 years, but she did not know about this. However, she was not angry because Lu Yuan said it at this time, which meant that he did not mind Hulina knowing. In that case, Hulina naturally would not blame Lu Yuan, because although she and Lu Yuan were senior and junior brothers, their identities were not as close as now. Although she felt a little sad that her junior brother chose to hide the secret, she could understand. Golden Dragon bloodline, haha, I knew that my son was extraordinary. Fellows laughed heartily. The more outstanding Lu Yuan was, the happier he was. He completely treated Lu Yuan as his own son, as if he were his own. The fellows smiled and looked at Hulina, who was still hiding behind Lu Yuan, and asked, This is my senior sister, Hulina. Come, senior sister, let me introduce you. This old man in front of you is my old man, the dean of Nodding Academy, fellows. Chapter 93. Hello, Uncle Fellows. I'm Lu Yuan's senior sister, Hulina. Hulina greeted the fellows and said, Hello, hello. The fellows said quickly with a strange smile on his face. Old man, why are you smiling so strangely? Lu Yuan looked at the fellows' strange smile, rolled his eyes, and said, Fellows chuckled and said, Nice to meet you, senior sister and junior brother. Nice to meet you. As he spoke, he gave Lu Yuan a knowing look. Strange old man, Lu Yuan complained to the fellows. He pulled Hulina's hand and said, Senior sister, let's go into the house first. Don't bother with this stinky old man. As he said that, he pulled Hulina into the house. Hey, you stinky brat. The fellows scolded with a smile and followed behind Lu Yuan. Junior brother, is this your room? Looking at the simple furnishings of the room, Hulina asked. And Lu Yuan nodded and said, It's very simple. Lu Yuan didn't like complicated things, so the room was very simple. There was a bed, a bedside table, and a desk. There was basically nothing else. It's okay. Hulina nodded. Then I'll have to trouble senior sister to stay here for the next few days. This house is very small. There are only 2 rooms. Lu Yuan said with a smile. I'm fine with anything. As long as I can sleep with junior brother, I don't care where I sleep. Hulina looked at Lu Yuan with her beautiful eyes and revealed a beautiful smile. Lu Yuan's heart trembled. Senior sister, can you not be so emotional? It makes me feel very touched. I haven't been back for 3 years, but this room is still so clean. It seems that the old man often cleans it. Looking at the spotless room, Lu Yuan sighed. It seems like Uncle Fei treats you very well. He cleans the house every now and then, just waiting for the day you come back, Hulina said. Lu Yuan nodded. He pulled Hulina's hand and said, Let's go, senior sister. Let's go find that smelly old man and have a meal together. Hulina responded and let Lu Yuan pull her away. Old man, what are you busy with? Looking at the fellows in the kitchen, Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows and said. The fellows rolled his eyes and said, Stinky brat, you're still watching the show? Hurry up and come help me. Do you want to tire this old man to death? Oh, Lu Yuan pulled Hulina into the kitchen and said with a smile, Senior sister, you haven't eaten my cooking yet, right? How about I let you try my cooking today? You know how to cook? Hulina's beautiful eyes were a little surprised. After being together with him for 3 years, Lu Yuan seemed to have never shown any talent in this area. Of course, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. His cooking skills were quite good. In his previous life, he was a single dog. In order to chase after his girlfriend, he specially learned how to cook. The dishes he cooked were not bad. It was a pity that he didn't find his girlfriend and transmigrated to this world. In this world, he had cooked a few times since he was young, but most of the time, he ate in the cafeteria. As for why, maybe it was because he was lazy. However, the fellows was quite satisfied with his cooking skills. After all, the dishes he prepared were quite novel to the people of the Douluo continent. Old man, what do you need me to do? Lu Yuan asked. The fellows said, the vegetables are almost done washing. You can start cooking. I will watch the fire for you. Okay. Lu Yuan rolled up his sleeves and washed his hands. He began to cut the vegetables and prepare to cook. Junior brother, let me help you cut the vegetables. Hulina said. Lu Yuan turned his head and said with a strange expression, Senior sister, have you cut vegetables before? No. Hulina shook her head with a red face. She had never been in the kitchen before. She had never washed vegetables, let alone cut vegetables. Senior sister, you should just wait there and eat. People who have never cut vegetables shouldn't join in the fun. It wouldn't be good if they cut their hands. Junior brother, I can't eat for free. See if there's anything I can cook. Let me do it, Hulina said. In her opinion, since her junior brother had personally cooked, she couldn't just do nothing. No matter what, she always hoped to be able to help her junior brother a little. And then senior sister, you can wash those bowls with water and use them to serve the dishes later. Lu Yuan said and pointed to the bowls in the cupboard. These bowls looked quite clean, but after all, they had been there for some time. It was necessary to wash them with water. In terms of hygiene, Lu Yuan was quite particular. Okay, after receiving the task, Hulina was very happy. She got a basin of water and began to wash the dishes. Every bowl was turned over and washed several times. It didn't look like washing dishes, but more like a massage. It was really clear as a mirror. Lu Yuan was secretly amused. If she washed the dishes like this, the restaurants outside would probably close down. In the time it took to wash the dishes, others would have cooked several dishes. However, since he only needed a few bowls to eat at home, Lu Yuan didn't want to dampen Hulina's enthusiasm. After cutting the side dishes, he poured in vegetable oil. After heating them up, he added the ingredients. After a simple stir-fry, he added the seasoning. In a short while, a rich fragrance of food assailed his nose. Wow, it smells so good. Hulina sniffed. So you really know how to cook? Hearing that, Lu Yuan's mouth twitched. So this girl didn't believe him before? It seemed like he had to show this girl his culinary skills today. I, Lu Yuan, am an all-round genius. There's nothing I can't do. After stir-frying a dish, Lu Yuan washed the pot and continued his cooking journey. Half an hour passed. The three of them sat around the stone table in the courtyard. There were 4 dishes and a soup on the table. Stir-fried pork tenderloin, stir-fried white prawns, spicy swordfish, stir-fried rabbit meat, red codfish soup. The 4 dishes and the soup were all filled with fragrance. Wow, junior brother, you're too amazing. Looking at the 4 dishes and the soup in front of her, Hulina's eyes twinkled with little stars. That was her admiration for Lu Yuan. This junior brother of hers was not only super handsome, talented, and intelligent, but even his culinary skills were so good. He was too charming. She really loved junior brother more and more. Try it and see how it tastes. Lu Yuan picked up some rabbit meat with his chopsticks and placed it in Hulina's bowl. He smiled and said, "See how this rabbit meat tastes?" Hulina took a bite. Her beautiful eyes instantly lit up. She said, "It's really delicious. It's spicy and fragrant. Moreover, it's not old at all. Instead, it's very fresh and tender. Junior brother, your culinary skills are really good. Eat more if it's delicious." Lu Yuan smiled and said, "Moreover, this rabbit meat is actually ordinary. The best part is the rabbit head. How about I make spicy rabbit head for you tonight?" "Okay, add more cumin and chili." "Okay." Lu Yuan smiled. "Cough, cough, stinky brat. Did you forget something?" The fellows rolled his eyes. "What did I forget?" Lu Yuan was a little puzzled. "You haven't picked up any food for me yet. Sure enough, once you have a wife, you even forget about your father." The fellow sighed and said. Hearing the fellow's words, Hulina's charming face blushed. She lowered her head in embarrassment. "Old bastard," Lu Yuan scolded with a smile. He picked up a large piece of pork tenderloin and stuffed it into the fellow's bowl. Chapter 94. After lunch, Lu Yuan lay on the bench in the courtyard to digest his food. Hulina sat beside him, and Lu Yuan's head just happened to rest on Hulina's lap. "Junior brother, where are you going in the afternoon?" Hulina gently caressed Lu Yuan's face and asked softly. "To see a scumbag?" Lu Yuan said. "Scumbag?" Hulina asked softly. "Is he a scumbag like you, junior brother?" "What do you mean by like me?" Hearing Hulina's words, Lu Yuan got up and stared at Hulina unhappily. "Senior sister, watch your words." Hulina's eyes flashed with a trace of craftiness and said, "Junior brother, aren't you a scumbag for having a foot in two boats?" "That's right." Under Hulina's gaze, Lu Yuan actually nodded and said, "Indeed, then in order to not be a scumbag, I can only bear the pain and give up one." "Senior sister, do you think it's better for me to give up on you or give up on you?" "What did you say?" Hulina's voice suddenly became louder and said, "Junior brother, what did you just say?" Lu Yuan secretly laughed, but his face pretended to be innocent and said, "Senior sister, just now you said that I have a foot in two boats, so in order to not be a scumbag, I can only bear the pain and give up on you, senior sister, sigh." As he said that, he pretended to be sad and sighed. "You dare." Hulina suddenly became anxious, and tears flashed in her eyes. Just now, she was deliberately teasing Lu Yuan, and in her heart, she might not have the idea of monopolizing Lu Yuan. She thought that would be best to have more Lu Yuan, so that Lu Yuan's heart would not only be filled with Chihiro's snow, and make some space for her. In the end, she did not expect Lu Yuan to say that. Hulina suddenly became anxious, and her heart was full of grievances. Senior sister, seeing that Hulina was so anxious that she was about to cry, Lu Yuan couldn't help but secretly scold himself. He stretched out his hand to caress Hulina's beautiful face and said, "Senior sister, don't worry. I was just joking." "Really?" Hulina looked at Lu Yuan with teary eyes. "It's true, truer than gold," Lu Yuan said firmly. "Then how do you prove it?" Hulina asked. "I can swear to God." Lu Yuan was just about to reach out when Hulina grabbed him. "You don't have to swear. I believe you," Hulina said with a smile. Looking at Hulina's teary smile, Lu Yuan's heart was full of self-blame. He said seriously, "Senior sister, I was wrong just now. I won't make such a joke in the future." Hulina hugged Lu Yuan and said softly, "Junior brother, no matter what happens in the future, you can't abandon me. Even if you want to be with Chihiro Snow, you can't abandon me." Lu Yuan nodded and then asked tentatively, "Senior sister, then you agree to be with Little Snow? That depends on your performance." Hulina pinched Lu Yuan's waist, and Lu Yuan grimaced in pain. However, he was quite happy in his heart. At least Hulina's tone had loosened a little. Hulina loved him deeply and couldn't extricate herself. It was easy to deal with, but Little Snow was a big problem. The revolution hadn't succeeded yet, and his comrades still had to work hard. Hulina lay in Lu Yuan's arms and said, "Who is that scum you were talking about?" "Grandmaster, have you heard of Yu Xiaojiang?" "I've heard of him." Hulina nodded and said, "I heard the people in the Martial Soul Palace call him trash. Trash? Lu Yuan muttered to himself for a while and said, "That's not wrong. He is indeed trash. But he has some research on martial souls, and it is still useful for low-level soul masters." Lu Yuan said. "Low-level soul master?" Hulina asked. Lu Yuan nodded and said, "This Grandmaster has some research on martial soul tactics, and he advocates cooperation and emphasizes team strength. Even though a high-ranked soul cultivator relies more on their individual strength, teamwork is still somewhat effective in team battles between soul ancestors and below. But that's all there is to it. For a powerful soul cultivator, a team may not be of help, but rather a burden. Like you, junior brother." Hulina smiled. "More or less." Lu Yuan nodded and didn't deny it. With his fighting style, it was indeed not suitable for him to cooperate with others. Of course, this was mainly because there weren't many people in the same rank who could keep up with his rhythm. If he forced himself to cooperate, it would weaken his strength. "Then why did you call Yu Shaojing a scum?" Hulina asked curiously. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said, "Do you think that a person who doesn't even believe his girlfriend, who has been with him for more than 5 years, and instead believes the words of others? He left his girlfriend and chose to be with his younger sister. In the end, he even abandoned his younger sister. Does that count as a scum? There's actually such a bastard in this world." Hulina's eyes widened. Is this kind of person worthy of living in this world? Hulina's charming face was full of anger. "Junior brother, why don't we find someone to kill him? This kind of person will only harm people if he stays in this world. He's a waste of air when alive, and a waste of land when dead." "Yeah, I don't." Lu Yuan was shocked by Hulina's words and hurriedly stopped her. If they killed Yu Shaojiang, BB Don would go crazy. If news of this were to leak out, he and Hulina would both die. In the current Bibidan's heart, there was nothing more important than Yu Shaojiang. Even if he wanted to kill them, he had to wait for them to grow up and do it silently. Furthermore, he had learned martial soul knowledge from Yu Shaojiang since he was young. Although he had been self-taught most of the time, he had still learned a lot. At the very least, he had to repay this favor before he could make a move. Lu Yuan had never owed anyone anything. However, when he thought about how his beautiful female Pontiff Master actually liked Yu Shaojiang, Lu Yuan was quite unhappy. Was Yu Shaojiang worthy? "Junior brother, if you don't kill this kind of person, are you going to keep him alive? Don't tell me you want to learn from him?" Hulina looked at Lu Yuan with a questioning gaze. "What are you talking about?" He flicked Hulina's smooth forehead. The latter hugged her head in grievance, but her eyes were still stubbornly looking at Lu Yuan. Touching Hulina's charming face, Lu Yuan said with a serious expression, "Senior sister, is this how you see me? I might not be loyal enough, but as long as I've set my mind on someone, I won't let go for the rest of my life. Whether it's you or Xiao Shui, since I've already set my mind on you, then you can only be mine in this lifetime. No one could take you away from me." Seeing Lu Yuan's serious expression, Hulina sighed in relief in her heart. With a smile on her face, she said, "Junior brother, you're really domineering." Tightly hugging Hulina in his arms, Lu Yuan said with a smile, "I'm just that domineering. Senior sister, since you've already boarded my pirate ship, then you can forget about getting off in this lifetime." "I've never thought of getting off either," Hulina whispered softly, the corners of her mouth curling up into a smile. Chapter 95. "Then why don't you let me kill him?" Hulina looked at Lu Yuan suspiciously. Lu Yuan sighed and said, "Although he's a scumbag, he did teach me some martial soul knowledge when I was young. How can I make a move on him before I return the favor? Wouldn't I be a heartless person if I did that?" "Senior sister, you don't want me to become such a person, do you?" Lu Yuan asked. "All right then, I'll let him off." "He got off too easy," Hulina said reluctantly, but she still dismissed the idea of killing the Grandmaster. After all, even though the Grandmaster was disgusting, nothing was more important than Lu Yuan in Hulina's eyes. For Lu Yuan's sake, she didn't mind letting the Grandmaster off. However, after Obuchi repaid the favor, I must find a chance to kill the Grandmaster. Hulina thought to herself. "Then do you want to go with me later?" "Senior sister, Lu Yuan asked. Forget it. I'll lose my appetite when I see such a scumbag. I'm not going. You can go by yourself. Hulina said. All right then, I'll go by myself. You stay here and don't run around. Lu Yuan said with a smile. Got it. Hulina smiled and said, Come back soon. Okay. Lu Yuan pinched Hulina's cheek and walked towards the Grandmaster. Hulina didn't follow him, which was more in line with Lu Yuan's intentions. After all, even though the Grandmaster hadn't seen Hulina before, he might discover Hulina's identity if something went wrong. His identity might be exposed as well, but it wasn't time for him to expose his identity yet. According to his plan, it was very likely that he would be able to infiltrate Shrek Academy in the future. It was said that Shrek's 7 monsters were one, and their fortunes were connected. He wanted to see if the 7 monsters could still become gods after their fortunes were separated. If he could make the 7 freaks fall apart, or even turn them against each other, it would be quite interesting. After all, during the final battle, Shrek's 7 monsters would be able to take on an equal number of titled Douluos. Lu Yuan was now a member of the Martial Soul Palace, and he had Chihiro Snow, Hulina, and even BB Dawn to tie him down, so there was no way he was going to allow the Martial Soul Palace to suffer the same fate as the original novel. Since that was the case, he had no choice but to tear apart Shrek's 7 monsters. Furthermore, he was going to take away the opportunities in the original novel and do his best to suppress the growth of Tang San and the others. Yu Xiaojiang would become Shrek Academy's trainer in the future, so he would still be of some use. Hence, even though Lu Yuan didn't like him, he still had to meet him to pave the way for future missions. Over the past 3 years, Lu Yuan's opinion of Yu Xiaojiang had changed drastically. Originally, he still had a good impression of Yu Xiaojiang, but ever since he became Bibidon's disciple and became closer to BB Dawn, he wanted to kill Yu Xiaojiang even more. At the end of the day, Lu Yuan didn't care about the lives of others. He only cared about the people around him. Cold on the outside, but warm on the inside? That didn't suit Lu Yuan. It could only be said that Lu Yuan could treat his own people very well, but toward his enemies or those who had hurt those close to him, Lu Yuan would treat them with the greatest malice. Did Lu Yuan really care about the Martial Soul Palace? Actually, he didn't. What he cared about were Chihiro Snow, Hulina, BB Dawn, and perhaps half of the Golden Crocodile. As for the others, Lu Yuan didn't care at all, especially after the God-slaying spear was awakened. Lu Yuan's attitude became even more serious. Perhaps there wasn't any huge movement, but the influence of the God-slaying spear had subtly changed Lu Yuan's personality, and the scary thing was that Lu Yuan didn't even notice it at all. Walking along the small path of Nodding Academy, Lu Yuan quickly arrived outside the master's wooden house. It was still the same wooden house, but Lu Yuan's mentality was different from 3 years ago. Doot-doo. There was a knock on the door. Who is it? The master's rough voice sounded. It's me, Lu Yuan. Ta-ta-ta, creak. There was a series of footsteps, and the door was opened. Your Obuchi? Looking at Lu Yuan, who was almost 7 meters tall, the master almost couldn't believe that Lu Yuan had changed so much in just 3 years. It's me, master. The master was dressed as usual, and his figure was thin and slightly stooped. Come in and take a seat. Although the master was shocked, he quickly reacted and said to Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan nodded and walked into the wooden house. Obuchi, how did you change so much? I heard from the fellows that you went out to train and learn. You should have improved a lot in 3 years. It's okay, my strength has increased a little, Lu Yuan said. Have you reached rank 20? With your talent, it should be soon. Little 3 is already a rank 21 Soul Grandmaster. A few days ago, the fellows took him to get his 2nd soul ring, a 700-year ghost vine. It's quite suitable for little 3. The master's face was full of pride when he spoke of Tang San. A 9-year-old Soul Grandmaster was as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. You broke through rank 20, so are you showing off to me? Lu Yuan snorted disdainfully in his heart. A mere blue silver grass, a rank 21 Soul Grandmaster, was something he could defeat 3 years ago. Moreover, was a 9-year-old Soul Grandmaster that powerful? His senior sister, Hulina, was also a rank 20 Soul Grandmaster when she was 9 years old. Now, she was already rank 38 at the age of 14. If you, Tang San, didn't have an immortal grass or an external soul bone, could you reach rank 38 at the age of 14? Lu Yuan thought to himself. Is that so? That's quite powerful. Although he felt disdain in his heart, Lu Yuan still smiled on the surface. Obuchi, then what's your rank now? Your martial soul is the Golden Dragon, and it's also innate full soul power. Your soul power's growth definitely isn't slow. Right now, you're at least rank 18 or 19. The master asked, rank 18 or 19? Who are you looking down on? Lu Yuan thought to himself. Seeing the master's expression as if Tang San was so awesome, Lu Yuan snorted disdainfully. Wasn't it just a show off that you taught me well? While you're at it, you're also mocking me. If I had acknowledged you as my master back then I would have already become a soul grandmaster. Lu Yuan thought it was funny, but he suddenly had a bad taste in his mouth. He said, as for me, I haven't improved much in these 3 years. He sighed, his tone carrying some regret. It can't be that you haven't reached rank 18 yet, right? You were already rank 14 back then. Don't tell me you're still rank 17 after 3 years? The master's face carried a trace of anger. AI, who told you not to acknowledge me as your master back then? You wasted 3 years for nothing. Right now, I'm only a rank 28 Soul Grandmaster. In these 3 years, I haven't improved much. I'm only rank 14. Lu Yuan said with a sigh. What? Obuchi, you can't be lying to me, right? Let me tell you, lying to people isn't a good habit. The master was startled. Then, he started to preach. Suddenly, 2 rays of light, one yellow and one purple, rose from Lu Yuan's body, making the master at the side open his mouth wide. How is this possible? Chapter 96. The image of a huge golden dragon appeared behind Lu Yuan's back, and diamond-shaped scales appeared on both sides of his face. 2 soul rings, one yellow and one purple, shone with dazzling light, and a huge dragon's aura filled the air. After Lu Yuan's golden dragon bloodline had awakened, the aura of the golden dragon had become even stronger. Furthermore, with Lu Yuan's rank 28 soul power, the aura of the golden dragon was many times stronger than it was 3 years ago. Under this pressure, the Grandmaster's body trembled slightly. The Grandmaster's martial soul, Luo Sanpao, was a martial soul formed after the blue lightning tyrant dragon failed to mutate into a golden holy dragon. Although he grew up to look like a pig, he had the bloodline of a dragon. There is almost no dragon martial soul that could not be suppressed by the golden dragon. Even if the Grandmaster's martial soul had completed its evolution and become a golden holy dragon, it could only crawl in front of Lu Yuan's golden dragon. In the Douluo continent, besides the dragon god and the gold and silver dragon king, the only other dragon martial soul that could compare to the golden dragon was the silver dragon. The golden dragon was the descendant of the golden dragon king, so the silver dragon was naturally the descendant of the silver dragon king. Of course, this descendant was not born from the silver dragon king, but was created from the silver dragon king's bloodline. According to the storyline, the silver dragon king was still a master. Cough cough. I digressed. Under Lu Yuan's aura, the Grandmaster and Luo Sanpao inside his body trembled. The intense dragon's aura made the Grandmaster's legs go soft. Obuchi, are you really rank 28? The Grandmaster supported himself with a chair to support his body. Under the situation where they were both dragon martial souls, the suppression of the golden dragon was too great. Lu Yuan nodded and said, rank 28 in 3 years. It's still a little slow. His tone seemed to carry a trace of regret. The Grandmaster's mouth twitched. He finally knew what it meant to be pretentious, but did not feel good to be pretentious. Just now, he had said that Tang San had already broken through rank 20 and wanted to show off in front of Lu Yuan. After all, Lu Yuan didn't take him as his master and missed out on a martial soul master like the Golden Dragon, so he was a little unhappy. In the end, Lu Yuan gave him a huge counterattack in the blink of an eye. Not only had he broken through to become a Soul Grandmaster, but he was also a rank 28 Soul Grandmaster, and his second Soul Ring was even a 1,000-year one. How were they supposed to compete? Tang San's blue-silver grass, 2 yellow souls were comparable? Or should he compare them with twin martial souls? Although twin martial souls were rare, the Golden Dragon was also a legendary martial soul. It was unbelievably powerful. If Tang San didn't have the clear sky hammer, he wouldn't even have the qualifications to pick up the Golden Dragon's worn shoes with just his blue-silver grass. The Golden Dragon is indeed a legendary martial spirit. The Grandmaster sighed and looked a little dejected. Originally, the Grandmaster was still a little happy to accept Tang San, a twin martial soul master, as his disciple. But now that he saw Lu Yuan's soul ring combination and rank, the Grandmaster instantly felt that Tang San didn't seem to be that good anymore. Although Tang San had twin martial souls, even if he grew up, could he really defeat a freak with a Golden Dragon martial soul and a soul ring combination that exceeded the best? The Grandmaster felt that there was a question mark. Hearing the Grandmaster's sigh, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Speaking of which, the Grandmaster in the original work was really a bit like a protagonist. It could be said that apart from his strength, he really had all the advantages. The Sea God was his disciple, Shrek's 7 monsters were taught by him, and the Pope of the Martial Soul Palace, Rakshasa God, was his confidant. He also had a younger sister who had always loved him. No matter who won or lost in the end, the Grandmaster would definitely profit. Apart from his strength being a little weaker and his appearance being a little shabby, he really didn't have any flaws. But in this life, the Grandmaster wasn't so lucky. Because he, Lu Yuan, was here. The Grandmaster should obediently spend the rest of his life with that pig martial soul of his. BB Don and him were not fated. And with him around, the Martial Soul Palace was destined to unify the continent. So what if Tang San was the son of the plane? He still had to crawl under his feet. According to the description of the Douluo continent's number 3, the ruler of the Douluo continent's plane was only a level 1 god. It was far inferior to the Divine King. Every Divine King in the Divine Realm had the strength to easily destroy the Douluo continent. With Lu Yuan's talent and the help of the system, he didn't believe that he couldn't even become a Divine King in the end, as long as he had the strength to transcend the plane. So what if Tang San was the son of the plane? He could still kill him if he wanted to. He didn't care about others, but nothing must happen to Chihiro Snow, Hulina, and BB Dawn. Whoever dared to make a move on them, he would kill them. Withdrawing his martial soul, the Golden Dragon's pressure began to dissipate. The Grandmaster sat down on a chair, his forehead covered in cold sweat. Sensing the soul force coming from Lu Yuan, the Grandmaster could tell that Lu Yuan's soul force was at the rank of 28. Furthermore, the soul force coming from Lu Yuan's soul force was even stronger than the average soul exalt. As expected of a beast soul of the highest quality, the Golden Dragon was truly powerful. The Grandmaster looked at the high-spirited Lu Yuan and sighed in his heart. With such great talent, why didn't he acknowledge me as his master? If I had him, my theories would definitely be famous in the continent in the future. No one would look down on me, Yu Xiaojiang. But it's a pity that I still missed the opportunity. The Grandmaster's thoughts raced. At this moment, the sound of footsteps came from outside. Lu Yuan glanced outside. It was a boy about 5 meters tall with an ordinary face. It was very obvious that it was Tang San. Tang San's appearance hadn't changed much. He definitely couldn't be considered handsome. Compared to Lu Yuan, the difference was like heaven and earth. Lu Yuan's handsomeness surpassed almost all the men in the entire Douluo continent. Otherwise, why would Chihiro Snow and Hulina both fall in love with him? At least, that was what Lu Yuan thought. Teacher, Tang San bowed to the Grandmaster, then turned to Lu Yuan with a puzzled expression. You are. They had some contact 3 years ago, but after 3 years, Lu Yuan had changed so much that Tang San couldn't recognize him. He is Lu Yuan, the Grandmaster said. Lu Yuan. Tang San looked carefully and said, Lu Yuan, you've changed so much. Lu Yuan's height was was close to 7 meters, almost a head taller than Tang San. It was no wonder that Tang San couldn't recognize him. Little 3, long time no see. Lu Yuan smiled. Long time no see. Tang San also had a smile on his face. 3 years ago, his relationship with Lu Yuan was quite good. But what he didn't know was that the current Lu Yuan was no longer the Lu Yuan of Nodding Academy 3 years ago. They chatted again, and Tang San suddenly said, "Oh Buchi, we haven't seen each other for 3 years. How about we spar?" After being defeated by Lu Yuan 3 years ago, Tang San had been working hard to cultivate, wanting to get back at him. In the end, Lu Yuan disappeared. 3 years later, Lu Yuan returned. Tang San also wanted to defeat Lu Yuan to prove his strength. Little 3. The Grandmaster wanted to stop him. After all, he already knew that Lu Yuan's soul power had reached rank 28, and it was a combination of yellow and purple soul rings. In addition, the Golden Dragon Martial Soul was very powerful. It was almost impossible for Little 3 to win. Okay. Before the Grandmaster could finish speaking, Lu Yuan interrupted him. Since Tang San had delivered himself to his doorstep, he didn't mind hitting the sandbag again. Chapter 97. Lu Yuan was still very interested in beating up the main character, especially when he thought about how Chihiro's Snow, Hulina, and Bibidon's miserable ends were all related to Tang San in the original work. Lu Yuan wanted to beat him up even more. He would take it as venting his anger for Xiao Shui and his senior sister. Lu Yuan had agreed to Tang San's challenge. Although the master wanted to intervene, he was still a step too late. However, the master thought about it and felt that this might not be a bad thing. Even if Little San couldn't beat Lu Yuan, he should be able to force out Lu Yuan's true strength. That way, he would be able to find out what Lu Yuan's second soul skill was. After all, Lu Yuan's first soul skill was already so powerful. He was also interested in the second soul skill. As for Little San being beaten up, the master selectively forgot that young people getting beaten up a few more times didn't seem to be a bad thing. The master felt that it was worth it to exchange Tang San's beating for the Golden Dragon's data and information. The pitiful Tang San was sold by the master just like that. The two walked out of the wooden house. The house was narrow, so it was naturally impossible for them to fight inside. The master lived in a more remote place. There was a certain amount of empty space outside the wooden house. At least it was enough for 2 soul grandmasters to fight. Tang San and Lu Yuan walked into the arena. Their gazes met. Tang San's face was dignified, while Lu Yuan had a faint smile on his face and was indifferent. Tang San, Martial Soul Blue Silvergrass, Rank 21 Control System Soul Grandmaster. Lu Yuan, Martial Soul Golden Dragon, Rank 28 Assault System Soul Grandmaster. Rank 28. Tang San's heart trembled. In 3 years, he originally thought that he had reached rank 21 and obtained his second soul ring. His speed was already quite fast, but he didn't expect Lu Yuan to be already at rank 28. He had left him in the dust by 7 ranks. 3 years ago, after Lu Yuan absorbed his first soul ring, he was only 1 rank higher than him. In 3 years, he had actually left him in the dust. Tang San's thoughts fluctuated. However, Tang San was Tang San after all, the main character of the original work. His mind was not something an ordinary person could compare to. He quickly calmed down. "Please enlighten me. Please." A blue vine emerged from Tang San's right hand. Although it was called Blue Silvergrass, after absorbing the Ghost Vine Soul Ring, Tang San's Blue Silvergrass had transformed into a vine. The Grandmaster nodded his head. Although Tang San's Blue Silvergrass was a bit lacking, it was very malleable. He had 200-year soul rings, and with the addition of the bind and parasitic skills, he should be considered one of the best among soul grandmasters. The Grandmaster was somewhat gratified. Tang San's existence proved that his theory was correct. According to his thinking, when Tang San became famous throughout the continent, his theory would definitely be accepted by the world. In fact, Yu Xiaojing's theory in the original work had indeed been popularized. But now it was no longer the original work. Tang San's strength might be considered one of the best among Soul Grandmasters, but Lu Yuan was able to jump ranks. Even among Soul Elders, he might not be able to contend against him. Looking at Lu Yuan, Tang San thought to himself, although Lu Yuan's soul power is higher than mine, a control-type Soul Grandmaster can restrain an assault-type Soul Grandmaster. With the bind and parasitic skills, as well as the Tang Sek's secret techniques, I might not necessarily lose this battle. He seemed to be very confident. Lu Yuan smiled. Today, he would let Tang San know what it meant to say that there would always be someone stronger, and that there would always be a mountain taller than the one before it. Tang San looked at Lu Yuan and said, "You're not going to release your martial soul?" The blue-silver grass in Tang San's hand had 2 shining yellow soul rings. Of course, if there's a need. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. He didn't feel that he needed to use his martial soul to deal with a rank 21 Tang San. Tang San's expression became even more indifferent. Even with his temperament, facing Lu Yuan's contempt, he was somewhat angry. Arrogant. The Grandmaster's expression was also unsightly. Tang San was his disciple. Wasn't Lu Yuan looking down on Tang San the same as looking down on him? It seems that Obuchi's personality has become much more arrogant after going out for 3 years. It's good to let little San teach him a lesson. If they both used their martial souls, the Grandmaster felt that Tang San's blue-silver grass wouldn't be able to win against Lu Yuan's golden dragon. After all, he had experienced the aura Lu Yuan had just displayed. However, if they didn't use their martial souls, the Grandmaster felt that Lu Yuan would undoubtedly lose. One had to know that Tang San was also a genius, so the Grandmaster felt that Lu Yuan would definitely be forced to use his martial soul. He wanted Tang San to teach him a lesson so that he wouldn't dare to look down on others in the future. Blue-silver grass bind. Strands of blue-silver grass emerged from the ground and coiled towards Lu Yuan. As a control-type Soul Master, Tang San had comprehended many control-type Soul Master techniques in the past 3 years under the Grandmaster's guidance. Lu Yuan stomped his foot, causing the ground to crack, and even a small hole to appear. The current Lu Yuan's strength in his normal state was around 9,000 Jin. Every punch and kick contained an unparalleled amount of strength. With a stomp, Lu Yuan's figure quickly closed in. This strength! Seeing the movement caused by Lu Yuan's stomp, the Grandmaster's gaze froze, and a trace of horror appeared on his face. With such destructive power, just how much strength did Lu Yuan have? Not good. Little San is in danger. Seeing Lu Yuan pouncing towards him, Tang San's first thought was to dodge. Although he was very confident in his mysterious jade hands, Lu Yuan wasn't an ordinary Soul Master. He also seemed to know martial arts. Thinking back to 3 years ago when Lu Yuan killed a 100-year fierce mountain boar with a single punch, Tang San's heart still had some lingering fear from that explosive fist technique. His right hand flickered with light and strands of blue-silver grass coiled towards Lu Yuan, wanting to slow down Lu Yuan's speed. Lu Yuan's clear chi scripture automatically circulated and a golden light surged from his body. The moment the blue-silver grass came into contact with the golden light, it shattered into pieces. How is this possible? Tang San was shocked. After absorbing the mandala snake and ghost rot tan, the blue-silver grass had become much more durable. But now, when it came into contact with the golden light on Lu Yuan's body, actually shattered. Without contact, his coiling and parasitic abilities were useless. Take my fist. Lu Yuan was extremely fast. His right fist blasted out, and a burst of explosion sounded in the air. Not good. Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track. Lu Yuan's fist was very aggressive. Before the fist even arrived, Tang San already felt a strong sense of oppression. This oppression caused goosebumps to appear all over Tang San's body. Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track. Lu Yuan's lips curled into a disdainful smile as he activated Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions. The current Lu Yuan's attainments in Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions could be said to be extremely deep. He even had the idea of creating a new movement skill. How could Tang San's Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track compare to his speed? Not good, I can't dodge it. Mysterious jade hands, controlling crane, capturing dragon. After realizing that he really couldn't dodge it, Tang San quickly stopped and instantly activated mysterious jade hands and controlling crane, capturing dragon to disperse the force. Sensing that controlling crane, capturing dragon seemed to be diverting his force, Lu Yuan's eyes focused. He once again increased his force by a few notches and directly broke free from the control of controlling crane, capturing dragon. His fist landed on Tang San's chest. After being hit by Lu Yuan, Tang San spat out a mouthful of blood and flew back a few meters. Chapter 98. Little San. Seeing that Tang San was sent flying, the master hurriedly took a few steps forward. Little San, are you all right? Cough, cough. Tang San coughed a few times. He felt a little stuffy in his chest, but his injuries weren't serious. He knew that Lu Yuan had held back. Teacher, I'm fine, Tang San said to the master, then turned to look at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan, thank you for holding back. He knew that if Lu Yuan had not held back, he would have broken at least 2 of his ribs. With his current injuries, he only needed to rest for 2 days, and he would be fine. It's fine, it's just a spar. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. It wasn't that he didn't want to seriously injure Tang San, but now wasn't the time. He didn't know where Tang Hao was peeping. If Tang San was seriously injured, Tang Hao would find trouble with him. As for killing Tang San, Lu Yuan felt that it wasn't necessary at the moment. He wasn't someone who liked to casually kill people. However, if Tang San were to go against the Martial Soul Palace like in the original work, or even do something that threatened the Martial Soul Palace, Lu Yuan wouldn't be merciful. Moreover, the current Tang San was too weak. Even if he defeated him, it wouldn't give Lu Yuan any sense of accomplishment. Of course, the above reasons weren't true. The real reason was that if he killed Tang San, the plot wouldn't be easy to write in the future. Did you think I would tell you this secret? It was funny. Seeing that Tang San was fine, the master was relieved, but he was still a little disappointed. The disciple that he had taught with all his might was defeated by Lu Yuan without even using his martial soul. This was undoubtedly a blow to the master. Looking at Lu Yuan, who was standing proudly in front of him, the master realized that Lu Yuan wasn't arrogant before. He really had the strength. Why wasn't such an outstanding young man his disciple? Looking at Lu Yuan, the Grand Master pondered for a long time before saying, "Oh Buqi, now that your strength has reached such a level, there's a place you can go and take a look at." "Oh, what place?" "Shrek Academy." "Shrek Academy?" Lu Yuan feigned ignorance. Shrek Academy, an academy that only accepts monsters. It was founded by an old friend of mine. "I'm sure you'll be interested," the Grand Master said. "An academy that only accepts monsters? Interesting. I will go and take a look when I have time," Lu Yuan said with a smile. Of course he was interested in joining Shrek Academy. If he didn't join Shrek Academy, how would he be able to break apart Shrek's 7 monsters? It was one of the few things he wanted to do. Shrek Academy is in Soto City. You should know where Soto City is, right? The master asked. Lu Yuan nodded. He naturally knew about Soto. It was the granary of the Fastno province. Tang Sin was slightly injured, so Lu Yuan didn't stay for long. After chatting for a while, he returned to his courtyard. It had been a while, and he didn't know what his senior sister was doing. When he returned to his courtyard, it was still as empty and secluded as before. The fellows were nowhere to be found. Only Hulina was left lying on the stone table, playing with her fingers in boredom. "Senior sister," Lu Yuan called out softly. "Junior brother, you're back." After hearing Lu Yuan's voice, Hulina immediately jumped up. She had a joyful smile on her face. She took a few steps forward and hugged Lu Yuan's arm. "You must have been impatient from waiting." Lu Yuan caressed Hulina's face. He had a gentle smile on his face. "It's all right." Hulina smiled sweetly. In this unfamiliar place, without Lu Yuan's company, Hulina definitely didn't feel good waiting alone. It was just that Hulina didn't like to tell Lu Yuan about these things. Every time she faced Lu Yuan, Hulina would show a smiling face. Lu Yuan naturally knew, but he didn't say it out loud. He disliked Hulina even more in his heart. "Let's go, senior sister. How about I bring you around Nodding City today?" Lu Yuan said. "Sure." Hulina smiled gently and said. Holding Hulina's hand, the two of them strolled around Nodding City. Although the two of them had top-notch looks and would inevitably attract the attention of others, there weren't any melodramatic incidents like playboys blocking their way to take liberties with them. They strolled around Nodding City, bought some Nodding City specialties for Hulina, and brought Hulina to eat Nodding City snacks. Time passed quickly. The sky was getting dark. Lu Yuan brought Hulina back to Nodding Academy. After dinner, the two of them walked into the room under the ambiguous gaze of the fellows. Speaking of which, there was one bad thing about the Douluo continent. There weren't any entertainment tools. After dark, there was nothing to do, and they could only go to bed early. In order to prevent Hulina from being bored, Lu Yuan didn't meditate early. He accompanied Hulina and chatted for a while. When the sky was completely dark, around 9 o'clock, he began to meditate. Hulina, on the other hand, was lying on the bed, her beautiful eyes staring at Lu Yuan without blinking. Dawn had just appeared, and another day had passed. After returning to Nodding City, Lu Yuan felt relaxed. Other than the necessary homework every day, he brought Hulina to stroll around Nodding City. After a few days, they had pretty much explored the entire Nodding City. On this day, Lu Yuan and Hulina had just finished their lunch. Of course, it was Lu Yuan who cooked. In fact, after returning for a few days, Lu Yuan cooked every day, while Hulina was in charge of washing the dishes. The two of them worked together quite well. However, happy days were always short-lived. On this day, Lu Yuan and Hulina had just left Nodding Academy when they were stopped by the Golden Crocodile. Grandpa Golden Crocodile. Seeing the Golden Crocodile, Lu Yuan was a little puzzled. He had not seen the Golden Crocodile for a few days, so why did he suddenly appear today? Something happened. "It seems like your trip has to end here," the Golden Crocodile said faintly. "What happened, Grandpa Golden Crocodile?" Lu Yuan asked. Hulina also looked at the Golden Crocodile, doubtfully. The Golden Crocodile flipped his palm, and a letter appeared in his hand. He handed it to Lu Yuan and said, "This is a letter from His Holiness the Pope. You will understand once you read it." Lu Yuan was curious. He took the letter and looked at it. There were 4 beautiful words on the envelope. To Lu Yuan. He opened the envelope and took out the letter. Lu Yuan studied it carefully. Hulina also leaned over to read it carefully. "Grandpa Golden Crocodile, is what the teacher said in the letter true?" Lu Yuan asked curiously. "The news from the spies in the Xianra Empire is definitely reliable." The Golden Crocodile also had a serious expression. Lu Yuan gently tapped his chin and said, "If that's the case, then this trip to the Xianra Empire is a must. Moreover, this time the battle will be very intense." "Yes," the Golden Crocodile nodded. After this news spread, there would definitely be many people who want a share of the profits. It might be difficult to obtain the final item. Chapter 99. Ding. Sign-in mission triggered. Sign-in location. Xianra Empire's Temple of Life. Sign-in time. 3 months. Sign-in reward. Unknown. When Lu Yuan opened the letter, the system's voice sounded in Lu Yuan's mind. After being silent for so long, did the system give him another sign-in mission? However, Lu Yuan was pleasantly surprised. The last time he signed in at the Pope's temple, he was given a second martial soul, the God-killing spear. This was a tool martial soul that could suppress all martial souls in the world. It was so powerful that even the current Lu Yuan didn't dare to touch it. What good things would there be in this second sign-in? Lu Yuan was looking forward to it. This time, the ancient ruins have reappeared in the Xianra Empire. It will definitely attract the attention of many forces. The Golden Crocodile said. Lu Yuan nodded. The ancient ruins must contain priceless treasures. It might even be related to the Supreme God. Lu Yuan knew even more. From a system sign-in mission, it wasn't difficult to guess that these so-called ruins were left behind by the Goddess of Life. It was hard to say whether there was a god's inheritance, but there must be some earth-shattering treasure. Otherwise, with the system's nature, it wouldn't trigger a sign-in mission for something that was obviously unrelated to the original plot. Since there was a mission, it meant that this Temple of Life might be very important to Lu Yuan. Teacher said in the letter that the ancient ruins this time are a little different. There are some restrictions on the age of the members who can enter. It seems that only those under the age of 20 can enter. Teacher wants me to go with senior sister so that we can take care of each other. Lu Yuan said. I'm going too, Hulina asked in surprise. Lu Yuan handed the letter to Hulina and said, Senior sister, I think you didn't read it clearly just now. Take a look again. Hulina took the letter and read it carefully. Sure enough, in Bibidan's letter, Lu Yuan and Hulina were asked to go to the ancient ruins so that they could take care of each other. There might be a soul ancestor under the age of 20, Lu Yuan said with a serious face. Hulina nodded her head. If one was outstanding enough, becoming a soul ancestor before the age of 20 wouldn't be difficult. Even the current Lu Yuan had to be wary of a soul ancestor. After all, even though Lu Yuan's martial soul bloodline was powerful, he was still only a level 28 soul grandmaster. Dealing with an ordinary soul ancestor like the fellows would be easy, but to become a soul ancestor before the age of 20 meant that he was a genius. Geniuses were naturally stronger than the average soul ancestor. But now that Hulina was a rank 38 soul ancestor, they wouldn't have to worry even if they had to deal with an equal number of soul ancestors. It was very likely that they'd be able to get the final item. As for whether or not there would be a soul king, Lu Yuan decisively extinguished this thought. Apart from Chihiro Snow and the drugged Shrek's 7 monsters, only the members of the Martial Soul Palace's Golden Generation were able to become Soul Kings around the age of 20. Lu Yuan didn't believe that the Xianra Empire had such an expert. Even Dai Mubai's older brother, Davis, couldn't do it. According to the original story, Davis should be around rank 48 when he fought with Dai Mubai. He was 7 years older than Dai Mubai, and Dai Mubai should be 17 at that time. Therefore, Davis should be 24 years old. Dai Mubai was 3 years older than Lu Yuan and was now 12 years old. It wasn't known if he had entered Shrek Academy, but his soul power rank was at most the same as Lu Yuan's. Therefore, it could be deduced that Davis should be 19 years old. At most, he should be a soul ancestor, or maybe not yet. As the eldest prince of the Xianra Empire, Davis's talent and resources were considered good. If even he hadn't become a soul ancestor, then the possibility of soul ancestor appearing in the Xianra Empire wasn't high. On the other hand, the possibility of him and Hulina obtaining the item from the ruins was much higher. Will the Heaven Do Empire send people over? Hulina asked. According to the distribution of soul master forces in the world, the 3 upper sects were in the Heaven Do Empire. In terms of peak title Do, the Xianra Empire was inferior to the Heaven Do Empire. It was precisely because of the support of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect and the maintenance of the Martial Soul Palace that the Heaven Do Empire and the Xianra Empire could maintain their current situation. In terms of strength, the Xianra Empire was much stronger than the Heaven Do Empire. However, in terms of soul master forces, perhaps the Heaven Do Empire was slightly superior. In the original novel, the Heaven Do Empire didn't just have the Heaven Do Imperial Family Battle Team. Although they were the stepping stones of Shrek's 7 monsters, it had to be said that they were still relatively strong. At the very least, they weren't much weaker than the Star Luo Imperial Family Battle Team. Furthermore, the Heaven Do Empire had 4 elemental academies, so their strength was also very strong. If the Heaven Do Empire sent people to participate, the competition would become even more intense. Probably not. Lu Yuan shook his head. Unlike the Martial Soul Palace, the Martial Soul Palace's forces were spread across both empires. Therefore, the Xianra Empire couldn't obstruct the Martial Soul Palace's people from going over. However, the Heaven Do Empire was different. The 2 empires had been at odds with each other for a long time. It was almost impossible for them to get along peacefully. Therefore, it would be extremely difficult for the Heaven Do Empire to interfere and take a share of the profits. Lu Yuan voiced his thoughts. The golden crocodile nodded in agreement. After hearing Lu Yuan's thoughts, Hulina also expressed her approval. She asked, "Junior brother, when do we set off?" "Let's set off tomorrow. If I'm not wrong, there might be a time limit to the appearance of these ruins." Lu Yuan made a few more guesses as he recalled the 3-month time limit given by his system. After all, his system didn't have much activity. As long as there was activity, it was necessary to do so every single time. Hulina nodded when she heard this. She chose to believe Lu Yuan's judgment. Perhaps love was blind. Since he had already made his decision, Lu Yuan didn't hesitate anymore. He was the kind of person who would immediately do something once he had made up his mind, no matter what it was. He liked Chihiro Snow, so he didn't hide his feelings. He secretly stamped Chihiro Snow so that Chihiro Snow would understand his feelings. He realized that he might have liked Hulina, so he didn't hide his feelings anymore. He decisively accepted Hulina. This matter was the same. The Temple of Life was a ruin left behind by the Goddess of Life. It was impossible for him not to be interested. Furthermore, it wasn't like he couldn't refuse the system's sign-in mission. After all, the first sign-in mission had given him a top-notch martial soul like the God-slaying spear. The second sign-in mission might give him something heaven-defying. It would be best if it dropped something good that could increase his spiritual power. That way, he would be able to use the God-slaying spear sooner. After all, everyone knew that they had the world's strongest martial soul, but they couldn't use it. Otherwise, they would hurt themselves. This wasn't a good feeling. Chapter 100. Lu Yuan was naturally a little reluctant to leave after returning for a few days, but he still had to prioritize important matters. The fellows also expressed his understanding of Lu Yuan's decision to leave. After all, strength reigned supreme in the Douluo continent. With strength came the right to speak. He was already in his 60s, and he understood this better than anyone else. Therefore, even though he was reluctant to let Lu Yuan leave so soon, the fellows still chose to support him. He just kept reminding Lu Yuan to be careful. Lu Yuan was naturally very touched by the fellows' concern. He promised the fellows that he would take good care of himself and Hulina. As long as he had time, he would come back to see him. After bidding farewell to the fellows, the three of them sat in a carriage and headed towards the Xianra Empire. Nodding City was located at the border between the Xianra Empire and the Heaven-Do Empire. It was actually quite close to the Xianra Empire. However, the Temple of Life had appeared in a small city not far from Douluo City, Sunue City. Therefore, Lu Yuan and the others still needed a certain amount of time to arrive. Grandpa Golden Crocodile, if I remember correctly, Sunue City shouldn't be far from Douluo City. It's the territory of the Xianra Empire's Zhu family, right? Lu Yuan asked the Golden Crocodile as they sat in the carriage. Yes, the Golden Crocodile nodded. His voice came from outside the carriage. The ruins were first discovered by the Zhu family. At that time, the Zhu family wanted to monopolize it. Later, another organization in the Xianra Empire called the Zither Sect discovered it and spread the news. Therefore, the entire Xianra Empire knew about it. Our spies in the Xianra Empire sent the news back to the Martial Soul Palace. It was also because of our Martial Soul Palace's strong request that the Xianra Empire was forced to open the ruins to all the sects and soul masters in the Xianra Empire. This was also the reason for this operation. Lu Yuan nodded. Without the pressure of a powerful force, how could the Xianra Empire open an ancient ruin to the outside world? If I'm not wrong, the Zhu family may have already tried to explore the ruins before the news spread. After the news spread, the royal family of the Xianra Empire must have also explored the ruins. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a saying that only those under the age of 20 could enter. I think this news may have been obtained at the cost of human lives, Lu Yuan said. That's right. Golden Crocodile nodded and said, I really can't hide anything from you. According to the information from the spies, all those over the age of 20 who entered the ruins died on the spot. Although those under the age of 20 did not obtain anything, they returned safely. Hulina looked at Lu Yuan with stars in her eyes. Junior brother's appearance just now was really too charming. It was as if his entire body was emitting light. Ah, this old lady's maiden heart. Junior brother like this, I love. Lu Yuan naturally did not notice Hulina's gaze. At this moment, he was still analyzing. Those over the age of May 20th have triggered some kind of restriction. Perhaps the entrance of the ruins has some method to check one's skeletal age. Those over the age of May 20th have been killed on the spot, and those under the age of May 20th have returned safely. Perhaps what? Hulina asked. Perhaps the ruins are not dangerous. Or perhaps even if one dies in the ruins, they may be revived outside, Lu Yuan said. The golden crocodile and Hulina were both shocked. That's impossible, Golden Crocodile asked. That's not necessarily true. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. He knew that it was the relic of the goddess of life. The goddess of life was the kindest of people and was full of respect for life. Her relic would naturally not be too dangerous, and she would not necessarily take the lives of those who entered the relic. As for those over the age of 20 who died on the spot upon entering, Lu Yuan suspected that it was not the goddess of life's doing. It was very likely that someone had set up a restriction to prevent those who did not meet the requirements of the goddess of life from forcibly entering. It was to prevent some old farts from oppressing others with their age advantage. This would lose the meaning of the ruin selection. As for who set up this restriction, Lu Yuan also had some guesses. After all, the goddess of life was not alone. She also had a husband called Destruction. With this person's temperament, it was normal for her to set up a restriction to kill a few people. The Golden Crocodile was silent. Although Lu Yuan's words were a little absurd, the Golden Crocodile had a feeling that perhaps Lu Yuan was not wrong. Hulina did not express her opinion, although she also felt that Lu Yuan's words were a little shocking. Since Lu Yuan said it, Hulina felt that it must be reasonable. After all, Lu Yuan had never been a person who spoke without thinking. Hulina loved Lu Yuan very much. When it came to understanding Lu Yuan, there might not be anyone who understood him better than her, not even Chihiro Snow. After all, they had slept on the same bed for 3 years. Ever since she knew that she might have fallen in love with Lu Yuan, Hulina spent the rest of her time on Lu Yuan other than cultivating her soul power. She cared about Lu Yuan's hobbies and analyzed Lu Yuan's personality. Almost all of Lu Yuan's preferences were recorded in Hulina's heart. Therefore, since Lu Yuan was certain, Hulina naturally expressed her support. Junior brother, I believe in you. Hulina grabbed Lu Yuan's hand with a determined look in her eyes. Looking at Hulina's smiling face, Lu Yuan smiled and kissed Hulina's red lips gently. He pulled Hulina into his arms. Without mentioning anything else, Hulina's unreserved trust in him really moved him. Lying in Lu Yuan's arms, Hulina's face revealed a blissful smile. To her, no matter what dangers there were in the ruins or what opportunities there were, she didn't care. As long as she could be with her junior brother, she was very happy. Riding a carriage, especially a long-distance carriage, was a very tiring thing. Half a month had passed since Lu Yuan and the rest set off from Nodding City and arrived at Douluo City. In this half a month, Lu Yuan and the rest ate and slept in the open. In order to rush for time, they sometimes started to rush before the sun rose. After half a month, even with Lu Yuan's physique, he couldn't help but feel a little tired. Hulina was even more so. She was lying in Lu Yuan's arms and sleeping soundly. Suddenly, the carriage stopped. Why do we stop, Grandpa Golden Crocodile? Lu Yuan asked. We are already outside Douluo City, and Platinum Bishop Osfer has personally come to welcome us. Obuchi, do you want to meet him? Golden Crocodile said. Lu Yuan shook his head and said, No need. My identity can't be exposed yet. There are too many people here. Let's go directly to Douluo Martial Spirit Temple. We'll talk when we get there. His identity was more sensitive, so it was better not to expose it for the time being. Otherwise, it would have a negative impact on his future actions. The golden alligator Douluo nodded. As for whether Osfer would be angry if he didn't see them, Golden Crocodile couldn't be bothered to care about that. They had the second consecrator of Consecration Hall and 2 disciples of the Pope. How could a mere platinum bishop have a higher status? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.